Welcome, everyone, to the Islanders Never Say Die podcast. I'm your host, TJ, and with me here, as always, is our NHL analyst and expert, the grumpy old man. They say there's no shame to his game because he's always the same.
That's me. Hello?
I'm here.
Oh.
We're here. We're not having technical issues. We had a long pause there. Or I guess a little bit of a pause before we start today's show. Today is the first day of NHL Free Agency. We're recording this show live on July the 1st. The Islanders made some moves. Other teams made some moves. We're going to talk about them. We're going to break them down. We're going to break down what we think about the Islanders situation. We're going to break down what we think about the rumors that are swirling around the Islanders, a potential trade candidate we're going to talk about. But before we jump into the meat and potatoes of the action today, there's a few things. If you're new to this channel because, the Islanders have been doing a lot. Hey, it's NHL Free Agency to start, and you've stumbled upon this channel. Well, today's your lucky day. You've stumbled upon the best Islanders podcast that's out there, first off.
You're going to find out exactly what this show is about today. Let me just put it to you that way.
Yes, you're not going to see any you're not going to see any beating around the bush. Let me put it to you that way. So yes, if you've stumbled upon this podcast, this show, welcome. We invite you.
Subscribe to the podcast. Hit the like button. Do everything we tell you to do.
I was gonna do a much more eloquent way to describe that, but
I know. I
said we invite you with open arms. We encourage you to subscribe on YouTube. We encourage you to like the video because here's the thing: when you like the video, apparently it helps the algorithm. It helps get this message out to more Islander fans out there. So hopefully, I don't know, the truth can be spoken about regarding this situation. So if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit subscribe. Make sure you hit the like button if you like the content. We go live twice a week, every Wednesday and Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Yeah, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, thereabout. And if you're new also, we kind of run a little late. It's a running gag. It's not because I'm just always late. Yeah, anyway, right. But we also have a secondary podcast called TJ and the Grumpy Old Man. That is just an all sports podcast. We talk anything and everything sports on that show. We talk NHL, we talk NBA, we talk NFL, we talk MLB, we talk college athletics, we talk world football, which is soccer for people in North America. We talk anything and everything sports on that show. It's called TJ and the Grumpy Old Man. I'm on the show with the magnificent Son X, who joins us all the time, and we go ahead and shoot the shit, just having a good time talking about sports. Last episode, I don't know, questions and comments were to nothing to do with sports, so we were just having a good time shooting the shit at each other, and a little bit of friendly banter. So, with that show, it's a little bit more freewheeling. We have certain topics we like to discuss, but it's pretty much wherever the comments take us in that show is where we go. That's called TJ and the Grumpy Old Man. You could find that in the link in the description below or as a featured page here on our YouTube channel where you see, Islanders Never Say Die podcast right underneath TJ and the Grumpy Old Man. Grumpy, do you see this, by the way? 877 subscribers. Look how close we are to 1,000.
We need 1,000 subscribers. Period. We need 1,000 subscribers.
Yeah.
Reach out. Tell your friends. Tell your enemies. Tell anybody just likes to have a good time.
How often do people talk to their enemies, Grump?
I don't know. They say in The Godfather, they said, keep your friends close, but your enemies closer. So that's all I'm saying.
Oh, yeah. I doubt the people with their enemies can be like, hey, I've got you one good piece of information I'm going to pass on to you. If you really want to know about the New York Islanders, you need to listen to this Islanders Never Say Die podcast. Well, today we were going to have a lot to talk about. The NHL draft happened, right, since our last podcast. We went live Wednesday, but on Thursday, the Islanders made a few selections as the players who are going to be part of the organization, hopefully for the future to come. We will not be covering that today because there's so much else to cover. We need to make sure that we can dedicate enough time specifically to that. I don't want to half-ass it. So we're going to put our Islanders prospect coverage on hold until we have some time to do so.
That's only like a 5-minute. That's only like a 5-minute segment, is it? Prospects, 5-minute segment.
Okay. But today, Islanders re-signed back they re-signed back 3 of their unrestricted free agents. They went ahead and re-signed back Semyon Varlamov. They re-signed back Pierre Engvall. They re-signed back Scott Mayfield. And hey, they kicked off the opening day of free agency with extending Ilya Sorokin to an 8-year, $8.25 million contract. Right? Let's give for the Sorokin extension.
Grumpy. Just stop it. You suck at that. You just suck, period. You're an embarrassment. There's so many things, so many things you could do with that board, and you just, I have one button.
Okay. You know what, Grumpy? That's going to be for next episode. I will be all prepped. Okay. We'll make sure it goes well.
You won't.
So, yes, I will. Next episode, Grumpy, I'm going to be all prepared. It's going to be a great soundboard. The greatest soundboard I've ever done.
You had 3 years.
But now
you've had 3 years, and that's the only sound button that you have.
Okay.
That and wah, wah, wah. That's it. I think they come with the soundboard.
All of these are like pre-put in. That's correct. So the Islanders, as we mentioned at the top of the show, Pierre Engvall extended, Semyon Varlamov extended, Scott Mayfield extended. Let's talk a little bit about
what
we had to do to extend those players, guys, because man, we were able to bring back the old cast and crew. Hey, everybody we needed to bring, we were able to bring back.
When you mentioned extended, it made me think of that commercial. Oh, we have ants in this house, and they show, I sent you a friend request. Why haven't you responded yet? Oh, they go through the refrigerator. Expired. That's the type of contracts that we just signed today. Those guys are going to be expiring before the contracts are up. Seriously, I'm going to tell you what I thought.
Okay. Can we go over what the deals were first? Before
No. I just want to tell you my absolutely gut reaction to what I saw today. Total gut reaction.
Go ahead, Grumpy.
I get little notifications on my phone if the Islanders do something. And boop, boop, boop. Pierre Engvall, 7-year deal. I'm like, come on. So I clicked on it, and it didn't have any details. And I was just scrolling down looking for the numbers, for the dollars. And then it says, it says also, or related articles. The Islanders signed Scott Mayfield to a 7-year extension. They signed Ilya Sorokin to an 8-year extension. They signed Semyon Varlamov to a 4-year extension. I looked at this and I said, hold on, this has got to be The Onion or some type of, bogus site that just throws shit out there. Because first of all, number one, the Islanders, right? Lou is so smart. He never mentions a deal until September, right? That's what he had the moronic portion of the fan base trained to think, right? And I'm like,
that was only for the last 3 or 4 years.
Last 2 years. And you listen to the clowns on television. He's so smart. No, he's senile. Okay. He's not smart. He's useless. And I'll tell you what, today is the end of the Islander franchise for the next decade. That's my gut reaction to these signings. One good signing out of the bunch. One. Why do I say that? You want to go into the details? Let's go into the details.
Yeah, so like Grumpy, you forgot to mention too, when you were looking at all of this, I was out eating lunch at this time period. I was walking back I just got done.
I called you twice. I
didn't pick up. I must have just, I had my phone, I guess, on a table down, and I put it in my pocket as I was leaving the restaurant. And I just got done with a nice meal. I was feeling freaking great. You get that feeling where it's like, oh, on a hot day like that, your stomach feels full, and you're like, oh man, I feel great. I just had a great meal, some nice sweet tea. Grumpy calls me up and he's like, TJ, I think, how did you phrase it? You said, I think that there's a whole bunch of fake information being put out on the Islanders right now.
Yes.
And I said, what do you mean?
All I saw was term. I didn't even see the numbers. I'm like, there's no way they're signing Engvall and Mayfield back to 7-year extensions. Sorokin, okay, that sounds plausible. And then Varlamov for 4 backup, for a 35-year-old backup gets a 4-year extension? I said, it cannot be possible. I swear to you, I kept on going back. I'm looking. It says New York Islanders, but I don't believe it. It's so stupid and dumb and contrary to what everything else that was going on around the league today and the values of contracts, players taking less money for short term, and we offer ridiculous term for guys who are just, they're ham and eggers. That's all they are. They're jags, with the exception of Ilya Sorokin. You're trying to tell me you couldn't have got Pierre Engvall back here for anything less than a 7-year extension for a bottom six player? He's a bottom six guy. Okay, on this team he plays top six. You want to know why? Because we suck so bad offensively that's why he's elevated to the second line. That guy blows. He is the new Mr. Softy. Josh Bailey gone. Pierre Engvall's my new bitch. You're going to hear about him every day when he won't go into a corner. That's what you're going to hear from me. When he misses a wide open shot around right in front of the net, you're going to hear it. Scott Mayfield, I love. I cannot fathom a 7-year extension for Scott Mayfield. Unfathomable. He's going to be 31 years old, and he's starting now a 7-year deal. Scott Mayfield's a bottom pairing guy for this team. You're giving 7-year extensions to bottom pairing guys?
We did that with Casey Cizikas. This is exactly what the freaking contract looks like for Casey Cizikas.
No, Casey got 6 years. Casey got 6 years.
6 years, 7 years. He just probably accidentally added one with the older he gets. He's like, oh, I gave a 6-year extension the last time. Let me give him a 7-year now for the guys who are unrestricted free agents.
Sorokin's deal, love it. 8 years, 8.25 per, love it. No problem at all with that deal.
Yeah, no problem with Sorokin's deal.
Varlamov. The Varlamov deal is just, honestly, if I had hair, I would have ripped it out of my skull today. $2.75 million a year to a 35-year-old backup who plays 25 games a year. Look at what Jonathan Quick went for.
Jonathan Quick on a 1-year deal contract.
$800,000.
On the cheap, on a vet minimum. Jonathan Quick, 1 year, $800K. We signed our backup goalie to a 4-year contract. Antti Ranta, a 1 year. What did he get, $1 million?
Antti Ranta, let's look him up. By the way, my team to win the Stanley Cup this year is the Carolina Hurricanes. No doubt about it. 1 year, $1.5 million, 34 years old.
Sure. And
There's
like
Nedeljkovic,
he went to Pittsburgh. We'll talk about that too. But it's like you look at Pierre Engvall. Let's start talking about the contracts, right? I mean, like Varlamov what's the need to sign Varlamov to a 4-year contract? A guy who was your starter, but has been dethroned as starter because you have a top 3 goalie in the NHL who's been a Vezina finalist for the last 2 years in a row. And Sorokin received votes. He finished 3rd, I think, in Vezina voting 2 years ago. And last year he finished 2nd. This guy is a top 3 goalie for the last 2 years in a row. He plays 55 to 60 games a year. You paid a backup goalie, a 35-year-old backup goalie, gave him a 4-year contract, what, $2.5 million per?
2.75.
2.75.
They've invested $11 million in the goaltender position for the next 4 years. $11 million in the goaltender position. What did I say? You should say maybe $10 million for your goaltender position. Whatever Sorokin wants, he gets. Whatever's left is what the backup gets.
Yep. So, hey, Varlamov, if you're not accepting a $1.75 million a year contract, we will find another goalie who will do that. And you don't need to extend a backup goalie for 4 years. He's 35 years old.
Okay. Freddie Anderson. What do you think about him as a goaltender?
I think he's pretty solid. I think he's a solid goalie.
Right? Pretty solid goaltender, sure.
He's a starter, might I add.
Yeah. 2-year deal. $3.4 million is his cap hit.
I'd say I'd rather have Freddie Anderson in net as a backup than a guy like Varlamov.
33 years old. I'm astounded. Seriously, I'm astounded by what Lamoriello did today. Just astounded. Think about it. Think about how many guys now are locked up for long-term deals in the Islanders for a team that will not make the playoffs next year. Will not. Absolutely will not.
We might squeak in, but we're not.
We are not making the playoffs next year. There's no freaking way we're making the playoffs next year. We have not improved one iota. Not one iota have we improved.
Well, I think Pittsburgh cemented them not making the postseason and for the next until they blow the team up. So I think that's one less team the Islanders have to compete with, right?
They signed Tristan Jarry back.
Kyle Dumbass went ahead and signed Tristan Jarry to a 5-year, $5.3 million a year contract. That is about the stupidest thing the Pittsburgh Penguins could have done. He's a miserable goalie. Pittsburgh's completely out of contention, so you can mark them out. There's no way in hell they make the postseason. One less team we have to compete with.
I'm just Scott Mayfield, $3.5 million a year. You look at the deals that were signed around the league today for defensive defensemen, making less money and 1-2 years. That's it. You want to know why? Teams said to players, hey, we're only going to sign you a 1-year deal. Salary cap's going to be going up. Maybe we'll do something down the road. Who knows? But they played hardball with these players and they signed them. Guys changing teams. Blake Wheeler, bought out by Winnipeg, signs a 1-year, $800,000 deal with the New York Rangers.
Looky there, the Rangers adding 2 real veteran presence. I mean, Blake Wheeler, he's not what he was, right, with Blake Wheeler, but he's a guy on $800,000 a year.
Last year. He had 60-something points last year.
Sure, I'm not saying he's finished. I'm just saying he's not what he was in his prime, right?
No,
but he's at $800,000 a year. Holy shit! Why sign me up? Oh, wait a second. Our GM was too busy giving 7-year contracts to Pierre Engvall.
Max Pacioretty, 1 year, $2 million. Who would you rather have for a year? I'm serious. Who would you rather? Would you have Blake Wheeler for a year, Max Pacioretty for a year, or Pierre freaking Engvall for 7? I mean, come on. There's so much. We were talking about ways we could do certain things. I was not expecting all these low market value deals for really good veterans on short term. That's like gold to the NHL teams. Just freaking gold. And look at the Islanders. They're still living in the old paradigm where we have to offer, all of our returning guys 7-year deals. This isn't, we're not bringing back Crosby and Malkin and Letang. We're bringing back Varlamov, Mayfield, and Engvall. We're not bringing back, Nathan McKinnon and Gabriel Landeskog. No, we're bringing back Engvall and Mayfield. I cannot. 10 years before this team even has a shot of being good again. 10 years. These aren't young guys. These are guys 27, 30, 35 years old. And you're giving them 7-8-year deals? What's Pierre Engvall ever done besides be a scrub? What's he ever done?
He played a good 2 months with the Islanders.
And it earns him
a 7-year contract worth $3 million plus.
He was a half a point. He's a 40-point scorer in the NHL a year. He's a half a point a game. That's what he was for the Islanders. Half a point a game. That's what he was. You can't get something like that for less than a 7-year deal? I'd rather have freaking Bailey back for a year.
Wow.
Semyon Varlamov, 20 to 25 games a year. $2.75 million for a 35-year-old backup goaltender? Scott Mayfield. Everyone knows I'm a big Scott Mayfield fan. 7 years at the age of 30 for Scott Mayfield? Everyone knows, like I said, love Scott Mayfield. Nowhere near as good as he's been in the past. How's that contract going to age out? Where are the improvements to the team? There are none. There will be none. This is it for the offseason. Signing your own guys back. They got rid of Bailey. They signed everybody back to ridiculous extensions. I honestly, I'm just astounded. Just absolutely freaking astounded at what this team is going to be. Next year, you want to know how much? I'm not even talking about this year's salary cap. Right now we have roughly $1.1 million in cap space. And you still have to sign back Oliver Wahlstrom, right? Next year, do you want to know how much cap space we have for next year?
How much, Grumpy?
$5.7 million. That's it.
We're going to have no cap, guys, and that's why we can't do this, that, and the other thing in the offseason, because we have no cap. It's not like our general manager is the one attributing or going ahead making these signatures and these signings here for contracts. They're not the ones out there who allocate the cap or anything like that. So when we're consistently in cap, issues with cap space, we have to trade away assets to get rid of away toxic contracts. Oh, well, nobody to blame but our fucking general manager.
We have 18 guys signed for 24-25. 18 guys. 12 for the year after that. Think about that. That means these guys, the core. You want to know what your core is going forward based on these contracts? Pulock, Pelech, Mayfield, Engvall, Barzal, Horvat, Sorokin. There's your core. That's your core.
That's a core good enough to win a Stanley Cup.
No, it's not. It's funny. We have you see so many. Carolina did phenomenal today. Just spectacular. I mean, does anyone doubt that Carolina is just not the freaking team to beat in this division?
Right. Because remember, remember Phil came on there. Oh, Dmitry Orlov. Oh, yeah. Yeah, the Islanders. The Islanders going to get Dmitry Orlov. He's the best defenseman out there in the free agent market. Dmitry Orlov. Oh, wait a second. The Canes got him.
And here's the thing. Dmitry Orlov, 31 years old. You figure, how many years do you think Dmitry Orlov, how much better do you think Dmitry Orlov is than Scott Mayfield?
I think Mayfield and Orlov are probably, Mayfield's probably 10 times better than Orlov.
Okay.
Grumpy. That's why he got a 7-year
contract. Like Orlov's probably, I want to say,
130% the player that Scott Mayfield is.
That's what I was going to say. Maybe Mayfield is like 65% of Orlov.
130%. He's better, 130% better than him.
2-year deal at 31. He signs a 2-year deal. 7.75 is his cap hit for 2 years. Look at that defense. Look at that freaking defense. I mean, holy shit. I don't think we're going to score on California next year.
Carolina.
Anyone who has tickets for the Carolina series, just give those away because those are 4 losses. Dmitry Orlov, Jacob Slaving, Brett Burns, Brady Shea, Brett Pesce, and Jalen Chatfield. Holy crap. They improved their defense by letting Gotcha-Spare go, and they bring in Orlov. Tell me that's not a market increase in that team. And that's not the only thing they did, right? They bring in, everyone was telling me Michael Bunting. He'd be great for the Islanders, Michael Bunting would. Why? Because, he does all the dirty work. He plays on the first line for Toronto. Well, guess who got him? Carolina. 3-year deal, $4.5 million. He's 27 years old, the same age as Pierre Engvall.
And guess what? When they were both in Toronto, Michael Bunting
was a starter.
Played a more important role and was valued more by the team when they had to choose there. Who are we lining up there at wing over here? Michael Bunting earned himself a top 6 spot. And guess who didn't? Guess who earned himself the bottom 6 role?
That's because Engvall he's not as good as Michael Bunting.
Sure. We had to say our team, because we have been mismanaging the cap every fucking year under Lou Lamoriello. Excuse my French. Every year under Lou Lamoriello, we have mismanaged the cap. It means that we had to go ahead and give extremely long contracts to lower the cap hit per year because Lou doesn't know how to manage a nickel. Because Lou does not know how to manage a dollar. We're in a spot to where he had to say, well, sorry, Scott, I can't offer you the 4.25 for maybe a 3-year contract. So I'm going to have to offer you a 7-year contract at 3.5. And it just continues to compound. Instead of being able to offer Pierre Engvall maybe a similar deal like Michael Bunting, well, we couldn't offer him that much for the cap hit. So we had to bring down the cap hit by giving him a shit ton more years.
It's not even a concept he even thinks about.
Because he might not even be alive in 8 years.
He has a better chance of being dead than the Islanders have of making the playoffs.
No, I wouldn't say that.
I would. We are not making the playoffs this year. I'm telling you right now.
Very early yet to say that.
Really?
Yes.
What improvements are you going to make with $1 million in cap space? You tell me. What type
Well,
of
the rumor, we'll talk about the rumors here in a second. I want to finish up talking.
Rumor schmoomer. We're not, this is it. Our offseason's done.
I do agree.
Over.
We're not doing any more for the offseason. You see the Islander Twitter sphere is over there talking about, oh, there's rumblings, Grumpy. There's rumblings that Lou Lamoriello is going to make a masterclass deal to get Alex Debrincat. Oh, wouldn't that just be great? Oh, I'd love to have that. I'm going to let you know something.
What a value do we have to offer Ottawa?
We're not going to get Alex Debrincat. And if we do, we are going to pay through the fucking teeth.
No,
we are going to be
you pay through the nose, not through the teeth.
You're going to be paying through the nose, the teeth. I don't care. You're going to be paying through every orifice that you've got in your body, Grumpy. Your ears, your freaking everywhere, Grump. You fill in the rest. You're going to be paying through every single orifice you've got because guess what? There are a lot of teams that can offer much more of what Ottawa's looking for than what the Islanders can offer. They said, oh, this deal is apparently going to be structured around Jean-Gabriel Pageau. Jean-Gabriel Pageau is nowhere near what Alex Debrincat is. Debrincat is a guy who has said he's not signing an extension with the Ottawa Senators, so they're looking to move him. And rightfully so. When a guy doesn't sign an extension, you got to look to move him. So they're looking to move him. He's looking for around an 8-year, maybe $9.5 million a year contract. Ooh, wouldn't that be great? I was about to say. So what will we have to do to clear up enough cap space to make sure we've got that available? Well, we're going to have to move him out. Hey, see you later, Oliver Wahlstrom. Hey, see you later, future draft picks. Because what I mean, seriously, Oliver Wahlstrom and Jean-Gabriel Pageau do not equal Alex Debrincat. They don't. No. You're going to have to give up a significant amount of draft capital again. And we are going to have every single member of this team cemented into a 7 or an 8-year contract, it feels like.
I can't express upon everyone enough how far Lamoriello has set the franchise back.
Yes.
In the last 2 years. There was a chance to turn it around. There was. Now there is no chance.
Yes.
This team is going to be bad for the foreseeable future, or just like I said,
treading water.
Right in the middle of the suck zone. Maybe you make the playoffs and get rolled in the first round, or maybe you don't make the playoffs. That's where we're going to be. This is not going to be a team contending for Stanley Cup. Period. End of sentence, end of story. Anyone who tells you any difference is either trolling you or lying to you or just plain out fucking dumb. Okay? Those are the only three things. They're either lying, they're too stupid to breathe on their own. Thank God it's an involuntary reaction. Or they're just trolling you. Those are the only three options for anyone who tells you anything different. Phil's facts. The only three options. There are none.
Oh, I'm telling you.
I just look at the moves. I'm just looking at how all these guys. Jonathan Klingberg signs with Toronto, 1 year, $1.5 million.
Hey, Klingberg was supposed to be a big defensive free agent out there this summer, guys. Remember, people say maybe we can get Jonathan Klingberg, right? That would be great. 1 year, $1.5 million.
Hold on, I want to make sure I got the dollar amount right. Oh, I'm sorry, 4.15. My bad, 4.15. Would you rather have Jonathan Klingberg for 1 year at 4.15 or 7 years of Scott Mayfield at 3.5? They're both 30. They're both 30 years old.
And about to say, Mayfield's going to be 31 when the season starts. What you've done with Scott Mayfield, when you hand out, this is the thing too, what I'm thinking about, that all Islander fans should be thinking about. Even if you're extremely optimistic, I encourage you to think this way. Our window, if you think is still open, will eventually close. All windows open and close. It's just a natural part of being a franchise in any sort of professional sports. You're going to have time periods where you feel like you can compete and time periods when you feel like you can't. When you are giving your players 7-year contracts, it is really hard to move those players off of your team. Because if your team starts really sucking ass, and I mean really starting to head down the poor street where they're starting to play like shit, well, guess what? It's going to be really tough to move a guy like Scott Mayfield at the age of 33 years old with 4 years remaining on his contract if he's not playing good hockey. It's really tough to move guys like Pierre Engvall if he's got I don't know, 5 years or 4 years left on or 5 years left on a deal at the age of 30 years old. It's really tough to move players like that. Just is.
It's damn near impossible.
It makes the resale value of these players next to nothing because we've given them 7-year contracts. You have no outs. You can't say, oh, great. Well, the thing is, 3 years from now, we've got a ripcord that we can pull because if, let's say, all of this continuing to go all in every single year doesn't pay out for us, and it hasn't, we've got an ability because Engvall's contract comes up in 3 years where we can go ahead and trade him at the deadline 3 years from now at the age of 30 where he can offer something to a team. No, you're waiting until he's in his mid-30s where you can even possibly entertain the ability to trade him. Scott Mayfield, you're waiting until the guy's 37. I'm sorry. I don't see Scott Mayfield playing at a NHL level till 37 years old. And I like Scott Mayfield. He's not a guy who's fleet of foot enough to play until he's 37 years old.
We have 7 guys under contract through the 28-29 season. 7! 7 guys who are locked up for the next 6-7 years. Think about that. 7 guys. 7 guys are going to be here for 7 years. Think about that. 7 freaking guys at least that term.
How many roster spots do you have in the NHL?
7.
Out of 23 roster spots?
2 years ago, we looked, okay, this would be the last off season. We bite the bullet a little bit, and then we can fully rebuild the team. Now you can't do anything. There's nothing you can do. There's nothing you could do. Do you think any young players have a shot to make this team? Any of them? Where are they going to play? Maybe they're going to sit Matt Barzal. He's on the contract for another 8 years. Bo Horvat, 8 years. Anders Lee, 3 years. Brock Nelson, 2 years. You know his contract extension is going to be made. How many years do you think Nelson gets? Another 8-year deal, so he'll be here till he's 40. JG Pajot, let me let you know, he's going to be here too. Another 3 years for him, 30 years old. F-, 2 years at $5 million per. Engvall, $3 million. Okay, we said, what did I say? 2 years, $3 million. 3 years, $3 million. Okay, that's fine for Engvall. 7 freaking years? And he also got a no trade clause, by the way.
Are you shitting me? He got
modified no trade clause. Modified no trade clause. Who the hell's going to trade for Pierre Engvall when he has a 7-year deal? Who's making that trade? Yikes. Is anyone actually going to make that trade? Stop. Full stop. Not happening.
And here's the thing, right? Like we look at, there were some awful contracts that were handed out by the Islanders again today. Sorokin's deal I thought was good. I think that was kind of what was expected.
The best player gets the worst deal. The best player gets the worst deal.
I'm fine with that. 8 years. I was fine with 8 years, 8.5.
I mean the worst for the player. Sure. 8.25?
I was thinking he was going to get around 8.5. I said no more than 9 was I willing to pay him, and he gets 8.25.
You could lump all 3 of those players together, and they don't even add up to 75% of Ilya Sorokin.
Yeah,
all that money. I would have given Sorokin $10 million if he wanted, and given these guys nothing. Said walk. Look at the Gudis moves, 1-year deal, 2-year deals. Everyone 1-year, 2-year deals. Why are the players doing that? Well, why are the players doing that? Well,
because the cap is about to exponentially increase over the next 2 years.
One who's not going to have any money? The New York freaking Islanders.
When
everybody else all their money up, and these useless bastards.
Everybody's going to have so much money available, so much cap space, and we're going to be like, "Oh man, guys, we only have $5 million. What can we do with $5 million? Well, we've got to trade away Kyle Palmieri's remaining contract, and we'll give up a first-round pick to get rid of his contract because that's just the going rate these days."
But here's the bigger thing. You look at all these guys taking below market, and here's what you're going to hear from fans, the Lamanites, Lou and the Lamanites. This is what you're going to hear. Well, they never would have come to the Islanders. Blake Wheeler never would have came to the Islanders for $800,000. Well, then you know what it means? One of two things. Number one, they don't think you're a contender. They don't think we're not taking a below market deal to go to that shitty franchise out on Long Island. That's probably what they're thinking. Either that or they're like, you know what? I just don't want to be there. It's not somewhere I want to be. And that means you have a perception problem. So which one is it? Because it's one of the two. If you can't sign players to the deals that Jesper Fast signed a 2-year extension, $2.25 million with Carolina. Max Pacioretty. Phil was saying, oh, Pacioretty's coming back to the island. He was never coming here. He signed a $2 million year for 1 year at Washington.
Yeah.
At Washington. He was never coming here. No one's ever coming here. Either they don't think you're a contender, or they're like, you know what? I don't like the perception of that team. Those are the only two reasons they're not coming here.
It can't be. It's not like, oh, we don't have our facilities aren't at the quality where they need to be. Our arena is not everything is state of the art.
Hit the like button.
Yes, hit the like button. Sure. But yes,
I'm serious. I'm serious. My people are going to ask, what did you first think? And I thought I said the podcast is going to be a bloodbath tonight. That's what I thought. Blood. And I'm glad that I had 5 hours to calm down. Really happy about that.
I was thinking, like, should we almost just go live now, Grumpy? Because I was coming back. I was like, should we just go live early, Grumpy, and just let Grumpy explode?
Oh, I'm serious. I looked at it, I'm like, this has to be a goof page. Like whatever. There's some of them out there that, are just like, they send out
troll accounts, or they put out like fake
and they make it sound like the NFL has one, like MFL it's called, and it looks like the same. It's just a goof thing. And I swear that's what I thought it was when I saw related article. I'm like, this cannot possibly be true. And I'm like, what's going on? I'm like, holy shit, they did do that. I could not believe it. It's almost as bad as the time, maybe worse, when they traded Roberto Luongo to bring in Rick DiPietro. I never forgot that day, and I'm never going to forget this one. This is the end of the Islanders for a lot of years now. We're not good enough. We are doing nothing to make the team better. There's nothing we can do to make it better. We don't have assets to get really good players. I just don't know where we go from here.
He really thinks, and the team really believes, that exactly what's in the locker room that didn't make the postseason 2 years ago and got their asses
squeaked in this year. Squeaked in.
They squeaked in, yes, with the 7th seed in the conference, and then got beat in the first round to a team that owns us. They think that team, who has all of 2 postseason wins in the last 2 years, is good enough to win a Stanley Cup.
Could I have lived with extensions for Engvall, Mayfield, Varlamov for like 2 years for Engvall, 2 or 3 years for Engvall, 2 or 3 years for Mayfield, 2 years for Varlamov? I could have lived with that.
I would have been happy with that. I really would have. I wouldn't have had anything to complain about.
It wouldn't have been good enough to make the team better.
Correct.
It doesn't make the team better, but you've hamstrung the team for the next 3/4 of a decade is what you've done with guys who are they're just marginal players at best. Varlamov's on the downside. Mayfield's on the downside. Pierre Engvall is what he is. A soft guy, got good legs, can skate, good stride, can't shoot, and just soft. I mean, he's a bottom 6 player. On this team, he plays, the second line, whoop-de-doo, is because we suck up front. 7 years is it's unconscionable, the term. The money wasn't bad. The term was deplorable.
That's what I was about to say. I don't have an issue with the amount of money we gave up. It's the term. When you start giving out contracts with 7-year deals to guys who Mayfield and Engvall are not irreplaceable.
No, they are. Oh, right. That's correct. I'm sorry.
They're not irreplaceable. You're giving 7-year contracts to guys who are completely replaceable. That's where I have an issue. It was like the same thing with Casey Cizikas. He's still got another 5 years left on his contract. When you give out these huge, long contracts, number one, it's going to guarantee that towards the end of that contract, you have a whole bunch of players who are all in the same boat on the wrong side of 30, who are just going to be absolutely miserable, that are absorbing the majority of your cap space. And you're just with it. You're stuck with it. That's what your general manager has determined is okay for your future. And some people don't care about the future. Oh, hey, we gave away a 2nd-round pick in the 2020 whatever draft pick. Oh, he's a 14-year-old kid now. Who cares about it? Well, here's the thing. When you take that mindset and you have that mentality, it's the same reason why your team doesn't have any draft picks. It's the same reason why, you don't have any prospects that you expect to make it into the NHL and to make an impact, is because you're consistently trading away the lifeblood of the team, which are draft picks. Every single team is built through the draft. How many teams are built through trading for every single player and giving up as many assets as they can that are young and maybe have potential for a guy who maybe is a little bit of a Band-Aid?
This should have been doing. This should have been a call-in show today.
We can make it a call-in show.
I want to see people. Maybe people are happy, and maybe I am way off base, even though we know that I've always been proven right. But maybe I'm wrong this time. Maybe this is the one time that lightning strikes and I am wrong. That is a possibility.
You're not wrong.
It is. I know it's not true. Everyone who listens knows it's not true, but you never know. Maybe Pierre Engvall turns out to be Mike the Greek Melaniatis or Johnny Matadots. Who knows?
You know what? We'll make it to the remainder of the show. We'll just make it call. And that's fine. I'm sorry for everybody who's been commenting. You're going to have the ability to call us stuff.
Well, we can read comments too, but I'll do the ad.
Hold on. I'm going to let you know something. When we open up the phone lines, it's going to be just pretty much consistent. Boop, boop, boop. I'm going to be getting calls on a consistent basis. Now, here's the thing. When I do this, I'm going to preface this, guys. When I'm ignoring your call, it's because I don't want the call waiting sound to continue to beep here and interrupt the person who's on the phone with us. So trust me, as soon as I do have the chance and as soon as we have an open second and you're calling in, we'll be able to do it. We go through all of the calls. I promise you, we go through all of the calls. As long as there's a call rolling in, we will pick it up. So do not get discouraged. Don't get upset. Just continue. That's all I got to say is continue to call and you will be heard. Your voice will be heard and we'll talk with you. What, Grump?
Okay. I just want to say Michael T sent in a comment that said, we're definitely not scoring on California. So.
That is correct, Grumpy, because they don't have a team. So
they beat us too.
The California Golden Seals beat us too, huh, Grump? Let me pull up here an ad read for today. God almighty. I'm expecting my phone. I'm going to have like 1 million missed voicemails. God almighty. Oh, goodness. Let me check here. Today, our podcast is brought to you by DraftKings. New customers, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use the promo code THPN and bet $5 and score $150 in bonus bets instantly. Again, that's promo code THPN only at DraftKings Sportsbook. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. In Massachusetts, call 800-327-5050 or visit gamblinghelpline.org. And in New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. Yes, HOPENY, or aforementioned HOPENY. In Kansas, call 1-800-52-4700. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. All games are regulated by West Virginia Lottery. Please play responsibly. In partnership with Hollywood Casino and Charlestown Races in Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. You must be 21 years old or in most eligible states, but ages vary by jurisdiction. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details and state-specific responsible gambling resources. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. 1 boost eligible per game. Opt-in is required, and you must maximum bet of $50, 10+ leg requirement for 100 boost, and eligibility wagering and deposit restrictions apply. Terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/baseball terms. Oh, man.
Wonderful. Hey, TJ, I'm going to try to sum it up. If you got a gambling problem, you probably shouldn't be gambling.
Don't gamble.
If you got a problem, I wouldn't do it.
That's right.
But just let you know, if you do have a problem and you feel like, hey, I got the itch, I got to gamble, don't bet on the Islanders to win anything next year.
If you can bet on the Islanders every single year not to win the Stanley Cup, feel very comfortably, make yourself bets for the next 10 years.
10 years.
Whatever they're willing to give you. Maybe try to give it, I don't know, make it for the next 10 years. I'd say you're going to be feeling pretty confident about that roll of the dice.
And here's the thing. If you call in today, we'll try to keep it short so we can get a lot of calls in.
And I know it's going to be tough because we're going to get people going to be venting, and I understand.
Yeah. Anger is appreciated. Do not feel bad if you want to. If you You want feel like you need to yell and scream, do that. If you want to tell me I'm full of garbage, I'm full of malarkey, I'm fine with that too. Just come with a legitimate point, not in Louis Trust or any crap like that.
If somebody comes in with Louis Trust, that's gonna send me over the edge.
It will send me over the edge.
He's just in Louis Trust. Okay.
You think we could have got Blake Wheeler? Forget about it.
Forget about it.
You think we could have got Michael Bunting? Forget about it. No. Forget about it podcast.
I've opened up here the phone line, guys. You can see it there. It's at 318-608-2245 there if you want to call into the show. Again, I know there's going to be a lot of calls coming in. I'm
just until the calls come in, I'm going to start doing some blow-bys on comments. We'll do them quick and fast.
Hold on. Do we want to address the Alex Debrincat rumors as we're waiting for a call to come in? That's important too.
Sure, go ahead. It's not happening.
Oh, well, here we go. We've already got a call coming in. Grumpy, I told you, there's no point to do.
Okay. And since TJ mismanaged the first call.
No, I didn't mismanage the first call. I've got to link everything together. Give me
here's the thing with TJ with the calls. Usually like the first one or two are like the first pancake you cook. You kind of throw it away because the grill's not the temperature isn't good. So just kind of throw it away.
Hey, you're live here with TJ and the Grumpy Old Man. Who do we have calling in?
Paul from Texas, your favorite Islander Texan.
What's up?
How are you, man? What do you think about the deals we did today? What do you think about the re-signing back of the good old cul-de-sac crew for those long-term contracts? I want to hear your thoughts.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to see you all again.
Oh, yeah.
You're right. You know what? It's funny. All the other teams around the league are singing, happy days are here again. You know what the Islanders have been singing? Don't feel sad, because 1 out of 4 ain't bad.
I thought you were going to say, don't fear the Reaper. I thought that's what we're going to be singing over there.
I would say, like, we have the Undertaker's music to play. Bong! That's the franchise right now.
Oh God!
No. We need to like get the wheelchairs out because we're gonna need to get the LTIR going because that's gonna be our new team name, the LTIR crew.
No, this is what it's gonna be. No, this is what it's gonna be. We're gonna be like the alumni games. All regular players are just gonna play on those.
That sounds like it. Oh, by the way, TJ, from the last time I commented on the podcast. Greg Picker is the color guy for the radio team, and he also does the Talking Owls podcast pregame. So I was thinking we could try with a bunch of smarter Islanders fans, and maybe even some dumber ones, to just troll them. Let's just troll them and actually try and get them to get their real thoughts on the Islanders, because I want to see if they're going to toe the company line, or we can actually get them to say the quiet parts out loud.
Okay, hold on. You've answered the question for you.
I'm going to make a prediction. Unless they don't want their jobs, they will toe the company line. Here's the thing: if you don't toe the company line as a reporter,
off the record.
Here's the thing: if you don't toe the company line as a reporter, they don't give you a press pass. No more questions. No soup for you. That's the way it is there.
Man, I tell you. Paul, what type of fun?
It would be the funniest thing in the world, though. It'd be the funniest thing in the world if you tried. I want to hear the excuses. I want to hear the excuses.
Honestly, I would never play that on the air because I wouldn't want somebody to lose their job over talking to us.
That's correct. That is why a lot of times when we reach out to people like that, we always preface it. I always preface it when we reach out. I'm like, hey, I don't want to put your job in danger. I preface it like that. You think I'm kidding you? When we spoke to Stefan, I'm like, hey, dude, I know sometimes we're not good to associate with. If you don't want to come on for that reason alone, do not associate, because I don't want somebody to lose their job for that.
Yeah, me neither. But I just want to hear the excuses. I want to hear what either the company's thinking or what they're trying to think in their head of how to spin this into the greatest day in Islanders history since we won our 4th Stanley Cup.
Well, Paul, thank you.
I honestly want to hear that.
Paul, thank you so much for calling in, Paul. I appreciate it. We got calls bleeding in, but thank you, Paul, for being the first caller, Paul. Thank you so much, my friend. Our first pancake. It was a good pancake, Grumpy. You didn't have to throw any pancakes away there. Now, here's the one thing I will say. It's almost repugnant. If you were to hear the company line, it's going to be vomit-inducing. Nobody
bringing this. We believe in this group. We believe in this core. We're expanding the core. What is he doing now? He lost the second pancake.
I didn't lose anything, Grumpy. Jesus, how many more times I got to tell you this, Grumpy?
You keep on looking around.
I'm letting the person know who called in that I will be picking up their phone call because I've got to click a button to accept them in, and then I want to let them know, hey, I'll be linking everything together. Give me 1 second. So I let them know that, Grumpy.
Okay,
You can just
relax.
relax.
Calm down.
Hey, you're live here with TJ and the Grumpy Old Man. Who do we have calling in? See, that's why I need to let them know, Grumpy. That exact reason. So we just lost a call there, Grumpy.
What a shock.
Your ass is the problem.
How many calls can you put in the queue? How many calls?
I can't put any calls in the fucking queue. This is not like a. Who do you think I am, Grump? What do you think this is, Grump?
Somebody should know how to handle a phone call. What the hell are you looking at now? I'm going to read comments till the next call comes in.
Grumpy, the next call's already in.
Okay,
I don't know what to tell you.
Let's go.
Christ, I'm gonna kill him.
Yeah,
it's Lincoln. Give me a sec. God.
Come on, link it in, man.
You know, when I get a little spinning,
let's go. We want an event.
I'm trying to fuck. Oh, give me a sec here. I tell you, I'm just getting like a spinning wheel of death. So give me a sec. It's trying to link in. I don't know what to tell you here.
When it links in, I'll stop my reading the comments.
I swear, I'm gonna kill you, Grump.
Emmanuel says, "Good evening, gents. Grump, how badly?"
I'm gonna mute you. I'm seriously gonna mute you, Grumpy, if you're gonna be reading comments like that. I'm trying to get this set up. Please. I need to focus.
Well, here's the dead air. Dead air is no one's friend.
You're live here with TJ and the Grumpy Man. Who do we have calling in?
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Charlie. Is this the suicide hotline? Please don't put me on hold.
This is
yes.
This is a suicide hotline. How can we help?
On hold. Very good. I love it. I love the humor today. Charlie, are you happy?
Hey, that's a Rodney Dangerfield line, so I got to give him credit. But
yes,
guys, it's ridiculous. I mean, 7 years for these guys. You know what's going to happen in year 4, year 5? They're going to end up having to buy out. Lou don't give a damn because he's not going to be around, and whoever takes over is going to have to clean up all this mess that Lou's doing. He's just trying to hold down the fort for the owners so they don't have a totally empty arena. But the reality is they got nothing in the prospects, as we always talked about. They're holding on to these Jags, and you know what? They're trying to have an arena filled, but it's going to be half filled. So it's like, you know, you got to be smarter than this. So to me, it's just unbelievable that the owners are sitting there that are supposedly business savvy, who put all this money into this franchise, and they see what Lou's doing, and they can't sit there and figure it out. Holy shit, this ain't going to work. So I would love for Malkin and Ledecky to have a town hall and let us tee off on them because, you know, Lou is just out of it. I don't know who's worse, Biden or Lou. I really don't at this point. So, you know, guys, I'll let you shoot it out, but it's unbelievable. And you guys are absolutely right. The next 5 to 10 years, we're in that stuck zone. There's no doubt about it. And what craze are we going to? And the Debrincat, we could possibly get him, but I'm not going to hold my breath, you know. And even if he does come here, so we have what? Barzell, Horvat, Debrincat. Okay, good. But now, you know what? Is that going to improve the power play? I sure as hell hope so. Is the coaching staff going to be up to par? I sure as hell hope. We're still going to be a slow and old team. So, you know, it's just and you see Klingberg out there, and you see Duchesne out there. Not to say that none of them would have came here. You don't know, but I guarantee you Lou didn't even try it. He didn't even try.
Right. That's right, Charlie.
He was sleeping. He was sleeping. He was taking his afternoon nap by the time they were signed. So.
That's right.
Charlie.
So I'll let you guys go. I'm flipping out myself, but I got to get over it because at the end of the day, we all have to go to work. And you know what? They're getting their millions, and we're sitting here and we're pissed off like it's you know, our kids or something. But at the end of the day, it is what it is, man. But it's infuriating because we can. To what Grumpy said a couple of years ago, we could have really started setting ourselves up for something.
That's
but
right.
Now we're going in the reverse direction.
That's right. Thank you so much, Charlie.
You guys have an awesome show.
Thank you so much. We appreciate the call. Charlie's not happy.
No, Charlie sounded happy, Grumpy. What are you talking about? You didn't think Charlie sounded happy?
He said he'd rather go to work than root for the Islanders, is what he said at the end. He'd rather work.
Jesus, I tell you, it's I don't blame him there, Grumpy. I mean, like it's oh damn, I'm sorry. We got another person already linked in, Grumpy, because we're going to talk about here in a second once kind of calls start to slow down a bit. The Debrincat thing is not going to happen. I know that's where the rumors are, but that's I'll tell you, kind of listen to what they talk about on NHL radio. It's not the Islanders are not the favorite to get him, but hey, you're live here with TJ and the Grumpy Old Man. Who do we have calling in?
Oh, I think Grumpy knows me. He knows my profile picture very well.
I don't know who this is. Who is
Lupin
this?
Ranger.
Oh, Lupin Ranger. Red
TJ,
Lupin
the
Ranger.
Red Lupin Power Ranger. Long time no hear.
No, it's not Power Rangers. It's Kaito Sentai Lupin Ranger.
Oh, that's
versus
right. That was the
Super
hentai
Sentai.
thing. That's where the hentai
Yes,
thing
that's
came
the
from.
real thing.
That's
That's
it.
the
Gotcha.
Japan version of Super Sentai, the real thing.
That's it.
Power Rangers is based off Sentai footage,
Yes.
and they cast American actors to play characters and write their
All
own
right. All
stories.
right. Let's
Get
get out of the weeds on that. I don't care about that.
What do you think about the
Yeah.
signings? What do you think about the signings that we
Oh,
had
I
today?
do know. I do know a couple people that are happy about him. The ones that got the contract.
That's
Sure.
right.
Yeah.
Very involved.
Engvall is probably very excited that he's going to be there for 7 years with their money. And then you got, Varley, who I'm actually okay with Varley. I don't understand the 4 years. Like 2 or 3 would have been okay, but the 4 years is kind of worrisome. But at least it's a friendlier deal with the money.
2.75 for 4
great.
years for a backup. He's not even going to play a full season.
Well,
He's not even going to play 80 games over 4 years.
Well, if Sorokin, knock on wood, gets injured, I mean, he might be able to step up. But I think the whole Russian connection is why they're keeping him around for longer. It's because Sorokin and him, they say Varley has been such detrimental for Sorokin's ability to play in the States now for our team.
You know what they did?
You're a fucking adult.
CJ,
We just moved Romanoff onto the team for the same damn thing. I'm sorry.
What?
I'm not
what
buying
birds do? You know what birds do? They kick their little things out of the nest before they could barely fly. Get out there, buddy. Sorokin's been on this team for what, 4 years now? 5 years?
4 years.
Let's move on. Sorry.
That's true. I do hope we get Debrincat, though. That would be nice. I've seen so much talk today. Oh, yeah, look, we're going to get him. I'm thinking, I'm not getting my hopes up. We've been so much, this is like I heard somebody said that this is like, what is that when you're at a wedding, left at the altar? We've been there so many times. There's also been, what's the other one? There's another person that said that, it's just like that. We've been down this road, and I was like, no, this is an oval racetrack every fucking time. Just around and around, same bullshit. Last year, we thought we had Fabry. We thought we were going to get, I think it was Fabry. And then we thought we were going to get Goudreau. Before that was Panarin.
Oh, yeah.
And Tarasenko, all that stuff. It's just, it's really depressing. It's heartbreaking.
Yeah,
it's so damn depressing.
We're not going to make that move. I was about to say, you look at like NHL radio says that Stevie Y is closing in on a deal for him. Here's the thing. Detroit has a lot more they can give up regarding assets than what the Islanders can.
Okay, here's the thing with Detroit. Detroit is absolutely, they've been kicking around the players for years. They have to make playoffs next year.
I think, they're in a spot where Stevie Y wants to keep his job. Maybe he says we need to add a piece that goes ahead and has an immediate impact. He doesn't, you can't say, hey, we're coming in here. I'm going to be the help put the franchise on the right track. Even with the cachet he built up as the next, Red Wing, you can't say we're not making the postseason for 4 or 5 years in a row and saying, oh, everything is okay. Trust me. Because guess what? When that happens with the guy who comes in after Lamoriello, we're all going to be wanting his head too, just like I'm sure maybe they want Stevie Y's head.
Well, unless the only way I think we can maybe get him is if Lou overpays a little bit. I think, like they're saying Pajot, Wallstrom, and all that. If we want to free up cap space, I don't really want to move Lee because he's our captain. He's a good person. You don't, but you got to put that aside. So I mean, if we can move Lee,
it's not a freaking Girl Scout troop.
What's that?
This is not a Girl Scout troop.
What do you say?
It's not a
Girl Scout troop. I mean, I could care less about that he's a good guy. I don't care. I want somebody who can produce on the ice.
True. And Toronto just got Ryan Reeves. So losing Roscoe little bit would worry me, because Roscoe, when he's on the team, we usually put him out against, like Tom Wilson, and then now they got Reeves in Toronto. Now, how Toronto is with us with Tavares. So I'd be a little bit, if we didn't have Roscoe, I don't know if we get bullied easier.
Yeah, I think, here's the thing. I think we're in a spot to where it's cemented us into exactly who we are currently and who we'll be for years to come, unfortunately. And, we got a whole bunch of guys that are on the wrong side of the age pole and don't have a lot of young guys to replace with. And that's where I worry.
I mean, I'm 37. I couldn't do it. I'm 37 years old and I couldn't skate one shift on the ice. And, these guys are still out there and it's just, I suffer with depression and the Islanders aren't helping very much, especially on days like this. Where it's like, what are we going to do? What are we going to do?
That's why you listen to this show.
Yeah, we gave so many positives.
I hear you. Keep going. What were you saying?
And I said we got so many positive things to say about the Islanders.
No, we let you vent. We can vent and be unhappy to bring you out of any depression. Hey, which we're sorry about, by the way. But here's the thing. I'll yell and scream for you. Anything to make anything, like I said, Red Lupin Power Ranger is the best one of all.
Thanks so much there, Red Lupin Ranger, for calling in. Thanks,
you, DJ. Thanks.
Thanks,
no
CJ.
problem. All right, take care, guys. I hope we get the Debrincat. Just cross fingers, man.
Okay.
Yep, we will.
All right, take care, guys.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Grumpy, I tell you, I think here's the thing. I think Debrincat, if we did get him, he makes an immediate impact, right? He does. That's my point. We're not getting him. I
wanted Sean Monahan. We couldn't even get Sean Monahan to come here on a 1 year.
He already signed, Grumpy.
I know. We couldn't even get him for a 1-year deal for $2 million. You think Debrincat's going to come here? He's not coming here. How much more do we have to offer him to get him to stay?
9.5, maybe more. Hey, you're live here with TJ and a Grumpy Old Man. Who do we have calling in?
Hi, this is Barry. I'm living right now in Florida in the West Palm Beach area, but I am from Long Island, and I actually help put together the Islander meetup group down here. And a bunch of guys down here are obviously mixed about how Lamoriello's tenure's gone so far. I happen to be in the middle between you and them. On one extreme today, I was watching while I was working at home and the NHL Network. This is all you need to know about what happened today. NHL Network literally gave the Islanders zero time to discuss anything that was going on, at least from what I saw. And when the signings did come in, nothing. They didn't even mention the Islanders if you guys wanted to talk about the Debrincat deal. Oh, I'm sorry, excuse me. Rumor. Because they know that it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Like, we have $1 million left. And Lamoriello said, and I'm not going to misquote him, but he said something to the effect of, if Zach Parisi wants to come back as an Islander, he's welcome to be here. Mm-hmm. Meaning, that is his fallback plan to doing nothing. Because the idea of potentially having saved money and maybe getting a Tarasenko or somebody to that effect in the UFA market, gone. Because I agree with what you guys said about the term. I could not believe when I saw seven. Like, I just was like, why couldn't he have been signed for, in this case, Pierre Engvall, 3, 4, I'll even say 5 years. I'll just go over the top. 5 years.
Oh, 5.
So you gave a guy who had virtually no body of work before he was a New York Islander a 7-year deal. I don't even care if he is projected to be a top 6 forward. He has yet to do anything to earn the term. I get it. The $3 million, $3.5 million. I get it. It's probably on par with what he should and might get out in the market. Nonetheless, not a good term.
Yes.
In the case of Mayfield, I think that they looked inwards and said, well, we really don't imagine Luc Bolduc coming up unless it's an injury or maybe something else goes on. But they almost put themselves back up against the wall defensively, and they almost were forced to sign Mayfield because you didn't get rid of him during the trade deadline. So you pretty much knew that he was going to be re-signed. I mean, you kind of had to know Varlamov and Mayfield didn't get signed. Anybody that was even paying attention had to know, like, that was a done deal. I could not guarantee Pierre Engvall per se, but it was more than 50-50 that he was going to probably get signed because, Lou got him and he was he was going to go in a friendly deal. And now we know what it is now, so not so friendly as far as the terms are concerned. But I will say this. The Islanders can't even attempt to blow it up.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing that you can't turn around and trade Kyle Palmieri and the other $5 million wonders and get back what? I mean, you could do it at the trade deadline maybe and get a second rounder maybe. And then what happens is that you don't actually have a physical player coming back in the roster. So how are you putting a roster together the following year? You're not. Except the only positive going into next year's salary cap wise, because I happen to follow cap friendly very closely, is that we do have, Clutterbuck potentially will be coming off the roster, and so will Matt Martin. You're looking at an all but $3 million increase on top of, I think you guys projected, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that it's going to go up in the neighborhood of which I can't believe, $4 to $5 million the cap is going to go up.
Sure. Yeah, right around there.
So if you added that and you were being, positive about getting back some money from not re-signing both Clutterbuck and Matt Martin, maybe you have some extra wiggle room next year, but I don't really imagine us competing with another team for the likes of an unrestricted free agent. I think that in the case of Alex Debrincat, right, wrong, or indifferent, I'm not suggesting that I'm keeping myself high or low on getting him. Unfortunately, Lamoriello pretty much is forced to make a hockey trade because he doesn't have any money.
Right.
Yeah.
I just want to say one thing, Barry.
I appreciate it.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, that's okay. Thank you very much.
Barry, for
I'll
calling in.
mention my comments as soon as
Go ahead.
we get off.
Go ahead,
Just
Grumpy.
to clarify, with the $4 million increase in the cap, the Islanders are projected to have $5.77 million next year in cap space.
Yeah. And when we're talking too, we're thinking about he's not wrong. We are hamstrung to only really making improvements through hockey trades because we have no cap space, and it's going to be the same exact situation where certain contracts, just like the Bailey contract, every year we're going to have contracts upcoming that are looking putrid. That's just what it is when you hand out contracts long term to guys who are old veterans.
Just aren't that good.
Exactly. The likelihood that a few of those are going to be awful is there, and you're going to be having to give up draft pieces to continue to run on and tread water to where maybe we can make the postseason. Maybe we got to give up another second and third round pick. Maybe we can make the postseason again this year. It's the same shit.
Blow it up and move on. Oliver Ekman-Larsson to Florida, 1 year, $2.25 million.
Cheap.
That's
cheap,
the guy
cheap.
I wanted, right?
Cheap. Hey, James, you're here with TJ and the Grumpy Old Man. How are you?
Hey, what's going on? Well, I was talking to my Pittsburgh coworkers, and I was kind of laughing at them about the Tristan Jarry deal, and most of them are not happy because of the 5 years. And then, so I'll talk to a buddy after work about, players I wish they signed, like Sorokin. And then as soon as I left, I saw the thing on Sorokin being so, which I'm happy. I think I would have loved that. Like you said, Grumpy, I think they should have gave him, most of the money to him, and whatever's left over, give it to Mayfield and Varley. I mean, I keep telling my Penguins fans that, you guys could have Varley, but I guess Varley didn't want to go anywhere. But 4 years, no, that's too much. A guy at his age, And then let me tell you, we better hope Sorokin doesn't get hurt. Because he doesn't get hurt, he gets hurt, we're in real trouble. Because you'll rely on Varley, And, and then I got home and my son texted me about Mayfield, 7 years. Like, that's just way too much. What's going to happen when the guys that they drafted and they come up and then their contract is up?
Well,
they must suck.
We're not
yet, really
James. We're not concerned about the guys that we're drafting. The guys that we're drafting have, very low chance of making any impact in the NHL. So they're not worried about integrating them in. But the problem you're going to have is all of these foregone draft selections where you're supposed to be rebuilding the team and having hopefully new young legs that could come in on entry-level contracts to enter in, you're not going to have any of those, at least of quality. So you're going to be rolling out teams that, I mean, are absolutely miserable in a few years. And it's like, again, you know, Lou will not be with the franchise 7 years from now. So, hey, it gets his immediate want done. He could go ahead and keep the cap hit low on guys like Mayfield and guys like Engvall by giving them 7-year contracts. Man, what does it matter to him? He won't be here 7 years from now.
Yep.
Why is it up to us to give, like you guys said, why do these guys get these long-term, and no other teams do that?
They're smarter than we are. Their GMs aren't 927 years old. He's living in the old paradigm when free agency first started that, you know, hey, everybody gets a big, long deal. Lock them in forever. 30-year-olds, give them 7-year deals. Everyone else says, hey, you know what? That's pretty dumb. That's really dumb. And
I mean,
you see it now.
Rangers guy as a backup.
Yeah, Jonathan Quick on the cheap. Jonathan Quick on the cheap.
But what happened to Halak? What happens to him? Where did he go?
To who?
I don't know where Halak.
Oh, Halak. Halak is finished. Yeah, Halak is towards the end. They upgraded with their backup goalie. They went ahead and said, Blake Wheeler, here's another upgrade for cheap on the real cheap side. So it's crazy. Some teams are able to go ahead and make that happen. Some teams are able to go ahead and exploit, you know, the fact that there are players out there that are vets that have still, you know, stuff left in the tank that are going to be able the same way we kind of did here with Zach Parise. But except they were able to do it with Blake Wheeler, they were able to do it with Jonathan Quick. The list goes on and on. But yeah, James, I tell you,
we don't know. We don't know if Parise and Palmieri. What are they going to announce their retirement? Are they going to do it when training camp starts? I mean, you got to let us know.
Sure.
You know.
Yeah. I mean, he's not coming
and
back.
Lou allows this to happen too.
Yep.
He's allowing this. You know.
Yeah.
He's letting the players.
Guys are on any other team.
He's letting the players. He's letting the players dictate to him. Thank you so much, James. I know we got more phone calls.
Thanks, James, for calling in. Thank you, man. Yeah, I was about to say he's letting the players dictate, but like from what I understand, Parise is probably not coming back.
Yeah. I just want to say something about Barry before we get the next call. He said he's like the middle of the road guy. I don't know what road they're traveling down there in Florida, but it's more to the negative side. I just want to say.
Well, I mean, I don't know how you can be too positive, right?
No, it's impossible. It's impossible.
And here we go. Hold on. I tell you, I feel like we're gonna have calls coming in nonstop, Grumpy, and that's good. So again, for everybody who's trying to call in, please be patient. We're trying to get everybody linked in here. And again, if we just can't, I don't want to hear like the call waiting sound here on there. But hey, you're live here with TJ and the Grumpy Old Man. Who do we have calling in?
Hey, this is Goon guy.
Hey, what's up, Goon? Oh, look, a Goon. Oh, it's Goon. Goon, how do you feel about these contract extensions we've handed out today?
Let's just say I have a very, very sharp gas pain right now.
He's got a cold. Goon's got a cold.
Goon does have a cold.
Either that or he's got
Whenever Lou Lamoriello makes a trade, does a major signing like this, he usually gives me a cold.
It makes him sick.
Maybe he's just talking like this.
Grumpy, can't you tell? That's our president, Joe Biden, who's speaking. He's calling in. He's a huge fan, Grumpy. He's got to be incognito, Grump.
Oh, but sorry.
Yes, Grumpy. Yes, Grumpy.
Grumpy, I would never bullshit a bullshitter. I'm really sick.
Very good.
But Goon, so
listen, guys, I have some very, very important questions for you tonight.
Okay.
Grumpy, if Lou Lamoriello ever invites you out to dinner, would you accept?
Yes. Absolutely.
What would you think?
I love picking on old people.
Would you order for him, or would you also pay the bill? How would you?
No. Here's the thing: if you're inviting me to dinner, you're paying. If I invite you to dinner, I pay.
Okay, there it is. There, and I'll tell you this much too. After all of the heartache and misery that we're going to be enduring as an Islander fan, Lou should be footing that bill, even if I invite him to dinner.
Now, here's the thing: if TJ comes over the house, he just expects me to pay him for his meal.
Bullshit.
That's the way the older generations is. Hey, I invite you somewhere, it's on my nickel. You invite me, it's on your nickel. That's the way it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
All right, then also I have a second. I have a second question. This question's going to be for you, TJ. Regarding the new Raiders of the Lost Ark movie, is there any chance of you going to see it dressed as Indiana Jones?
I didn't even know they had a new movie. It was funny. I was eating lunch and I was right next to a movie theater. And I was like, damn, I haven't been to a movie theater in 2 years. I'm like, what movies are out here? And I'm like, I'm like, what the hell are these movies? I just was like, no, is Indiana Jones? Yeah, I was about to say they all look like they had
but here's the thing.
Spider-Man or something.
No, yes, Into the Spider-Verse. No, here's the thing with the Indiana Jones movie. They got Fleabag, Phoebe Waller-Bridge. She comes in and she's going to be like the new Indiana Jones. But she's just a horrible person in the movie. Not relatable to at all.
Well, Gungun, any last questions you've got here for us? Or thoughts about these trades or signings?
Well, the question I had is more food related. Does anyone really use margarine anymore?
Ugh, no.
Maybe for cookies. Maybe there's like cookie recipes where you use margarine. That's about it.
Okay. All right, well, guys, the very last thing I just want to say tonight is Bridgeport sucks, Bridgeport sucks, Bridgeport sucks.
Yes, they do.
Thanks so much, Gungun, for calling in. Thanks, man. I tell you, Bridgeport sucks. Bridgeport sucks. Bridgeport sucks.
They do suck. Man. They do suck.
Yeah.
But I mean, you look at the Ekman Larson deal, and it's like that's like peanuts for a 1-year deal. Yeah, they're looking to cash in next year. I just feel like we're like so behind the curve on what everyone else is doing, whether it's the type of players we pick up or the type of contracts we sign. It's like we're 5 years behind everyone else.
It's, we're living in this antiquated, we've got an antiquated approach to a modern NHL. I mean, that's about the only way we can put it in. But hey, you're live here with TJ and the Grumpy Old Man. Who do we have calling in today?
D-Cut.
Oh,
D-Cut.
The return of D-Cut.
Holy shit.
Now, Grumpy, let me explain something to you, Grumpy. I've been calling on and off for the last 15, 20 minutes. when Google asked you to say your name, the only way I got through is I said Phil Stack.
Very good.
So I could always look. TJ, not bad on the mic, but there's no way he's ever outsmarting me. That's for sure.
Where you been? We haven't heard from you forever. We thought you died.
We put you out in a milk carton, man.
I've been off the radar. I was at Game 6. After that, I said I'm not touching any shows, anything. I've been pretty much off the radar. Still make an appearance on Al's Misery once in a while with a wise ass comment or two, but that's about it. That's about it. As far as these moves, they're self-explanatory. You don't need me to tell you they're shitty, but you know what? I'm not surprised, and I'll tell you why. Over the last week, I've been talking to BP, another one of your DOGs, another OG.
Oh, yeah.
And I told him, I said, look, history always repeats itself. What Lou's going to do is he's going to give these guys 6 or 7 year deals to keep the AAV down, at least in his mind. And boom, today, whatever, 5:30 when they came in, I wasn't shocked. And Lou, from the minute he's been here, the best adjective to call him, lazy. If you think about all his moves from day one until now, he takes the path of least resistance.
Bam!
Right? Highest trots.
That is exactly what I was going to say. The path of least resistance. Very good, D-Cut.
Yeah, I mean, look, Fire's Trots, who does he hire? His assistant. The guys he brings in, he knows from Toronto. He knows from New Jersey. So basically, all the guys he brought in terms of John McLean, right? He lost the power play guy in July last year. Who does he bring in? That bald-headed jerk, John McLean. So he's a lazy old man who will always take the path of least, and you could steal that from me, Grumpy, and make it your own, the path of least resistance.
I believe me. I was thinking that before you said it.
Yeah, you've taken so many of my lines over the years that there'll just be another one for you.
Oh!
It's true, I do that.
But, so look, we're going to be battling for the 8th seed again next year. It's going to be the same nonsense for the next 4 or 5 years, and we're just going to have to live with it. So, look, that's why I run a group called Al's Misery. You guys say never say die. maybe it's time to die because this team, we're never winning a Stanley Cup. And you'll hear me from time to time. Like I said, I've been off the grid, Facebook, anything, Twitter. I mean, I've just been on the last week or so, just getting back in the scheme of things. So you guys do well. I hope your families are doing well, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks so much, D-Cut, here for the call, as always. Again, one of the OG callers in.
Absolutely.
One of the OGs, Grumpy.
Thank you for the comedic stylings of D-Cut. Thank you.
I tell you, Grumpy always loved. Grumpy's an honorary member of Isles Misery Rated R.
TJ, not so much.
Yeah, I was about to say, me and those guys, Isles Misery Rated R. I've been so happy lately. I haven't had to mix it up with the Isles Misery Rated R crew. Now, all joking aside, I mean it's a great community. You gotta say what you want. You don't have to worry about people saying, "Oh, you're too negative. We're cutting you out," or anything like that. So, that's at least nice about what they've got going on there on Facebook. But Grumpy, we got another call in here. Hold on one second. I'm about to link it in. Hey, Drew, you're live here with TJ and the Grumpy Old Man. How are you this evening?
I'm pretty good. How about you guys?
Doing well. I was about to say he got back from Disney World today, Grumpy. He was on the happiest place on earth, but I wonder what that did compared to what signings the Islanders had. If that made what the happiest place on earth was a melancholy situation, Drew.
All I just gotta say is it's a good day to be a Knicks fan.
It's
certainly not to be an Islanders fan.
Oh, I was about to say, what did you think about those deals? What do you think about those contract extensions?
I mean, do I even need to state them? They're horrible. I mean, you know what? I just realized something while I was at Disney World, and I've been thinking about this for quite a while. Is it just me, or does it seem like any GM that's in a New York sports organization right now seemingly hasn't mentally progressed past like 2010? Because of all the moves they make, all the signings they make, how they manage stuff, it just seems like they're stuck in the past.
Yes. Yes.
And not just including the Islanders. You got the Yankees. You got, even the Knicks included, even though today I kind of liked what they did. But nonetheless, I'm going to get off that. But no, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm not investing my time in the Islanders. I mean, obviously I'm going to tune in with you guys and stuff like that, but it's going to be the same stuff I'm going to do with the Yankees. I'm not even mad. I'm just disappointed, and I'm not investing my time in the team anymore. Considering the direction that this franchise is in, I'm not watching any of the games. I'm not going to buy any tickets to the games. I'll be over in Japan before I even remotely sniff watching the Islanders again. So, yeah.
The writing's on the wall, right? I don't blame fans for having that feeling and reaction because looks like the writing's on. You see that, hey, could we make an improvement? Could our team find ways to improve? Maybe small pockets. We came up with a temporary plan that lasted all of about a day or two until everything fell apart. But I mean, the route to improve is so small because of what actually we have and what we can do. And it's just like you see us saying, well, we're going to give away a second-round pick to get away Josh Bailey just so we can re-sign back the same exact crew, and we can give them all 7-year contract extensions so they can live in the cul-de-sac for the rest of their life. It's tough. It's tough as a fan to see that. So it's tough. What do you have to say about that, Crump?
I want to say, Drew did the 5 stages of grief. Denial. He kind of skipped over that. Anger, he was angry. He didn't even bother bargaining, went right to depression and acceptance. So I appreciate that, Drew. I do. I can tell Drew.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, I'm not even I'm just in like I said, I'm in the acceptance stage at this point. And like at the end of the day, listen, all I know is 3 to 4 years from now, we're going to be looking at this team and we're going to be hoping to scratch like a Jeff Tambellini is a bottom 6 guy who'll be playing on our top 6 as a young player because we had no draft picks and they're going to be brought up prematurely to the team and they're going to be playing and they're going to look like ass playing the entire time. I'm just waiting for it at this point. Like I said, I'm not and I'm going to keep reiterating it. I'm not investing my time in the Islanders going forward. That's it. These signings just confirm that we have beta male cuck owners who will not step in to help this team progress. And they simply do not care to progress the team. They just don't. They'd rather just toe the company line than actually do what's right for the fan base. And it's sad. I think if you really want to make change now, this is the time to boycott. But we all know this fan base is not going to do that.
No.
They're going to buy their tickets. They're going to sell their season tickets. They're going to go into the stadiums because, hey, we're so good. We love to get in the playoffs, squeak it in. And I just don't see it that way.
I mean, you're not wrong. And that's it's a thing. Again, the unfortunate thing about sports is even when you feel like you're at the end, I'm not going to invest any more time in the Giants. I'm not going to invest any more time in the Mets. Guess what? Being fans, fanatics of the team, no matter what, we always invest time, and it drives us fucking insane. It's the reason why we've had this podcast. And even when the team's in a freaking shitter in the cellar, I always joke around with Grumpy. I said, at that point, I said, we don't need to have a show because our entire point has been proven. And I said, you know what? Here's the thing, though. We're still going to probably have one because we're just gluttons for misery, and we love the team.
Gluttons for punishment. It's gluttons for punishment.
I'm a glutton for misery. I'm a glutton for misery, not for punishment. I'm a glutton for misery, Grump. Just permanent misery. Anyway, but yeah, that's the one thing always about it is, you know, we love the team, so we'll always, unfortunately, find our way back to fully cheering on and supporting them. It's what makes us all Islander fans. So I hope with your quitting of the Islanders, you stay clean as long as you can, but you'll be back, unfortunately, as we all will.
And trust me, I'll be saving a lot. I'll be saving a lot of mental sanity during that time. It's the same exact reason I'm doing with the Yankees. I've never felt so free, so clear-minded from all the BS that's going on, because I just know deep down at the end of the day they don't care. Like, why should I invest my time if they're not going to do what's right to make the team better?
Yep.
And Drew, I'm going to let you go, but here's the thing: you can thank me for not trading low on Sandy Alcantara to guys like Johnny Mack.
Oh,
look, he's got like 2 more starts for me to actually like bear on it. I think I'm just gonna hold on to him at this point. But
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, he was a bust. He clearly was a bust. Like, there's no doubt about it. But yeah, anyways, before I go, Grumpy, I got something to tell you. Keep bugging TJ, all right? I love it.
All right. Later, man.
See you, Drew. Oh man, I tell you, it's as much as it would be like, oh, I'm not going to pay attention to others. And always, we love the team, we do, and even when they piss us off like they do today, we always support them.
Yeah, and you root for
That's
them, and you hope, and it just, you know, your head says one thing, your heart says another.
I was about to say that's the thing about being a fan. It's irrational love. That's what love is for anything. It's an irrational support, even when all the signs in your brain say, well, it's not worth you continuing to invest so much time and effort and everything, resources into supporting this team when they continue just to make you miserable. But you do because you love it. Hey, you're live here with TJ and the Grumpy Old Man. Who do we have calling in?
You guys already know who this is. It's the number 1 Tua fan and the number 1 Dolphins fan in the building.
No, it's Alexander.
It's Alexander. How are you, Alexander? How are you, Alex?
I'm good. I got the baby in my hand, so I'm going to calm down a little bit here, okay? Because I'm tired of all the negativity surrounding this deal.
Which deal are we talking about?
I'm tired of the Islanders. You guys already know. You guys have seen me in the comments, okay? And I'm telling you this: who are you going to replace Mayfield with? Who are you going to replace Varlamov with? Please don't tell me Jonathan quit, because Varlamov is by a million miles. Okay, Quick is 38 years old. Varlamov is 34. Okay, so don't sit there and tell me that. Engvall was on pace for a 50-point season. Okay, 3.5 for 7 years, not that bad. 7 years for 3.5 for Mayfield, not bad at all. Okay, so I don't mind the contracts. I give Lou a B for the re-signing of them. I don't mind them at all. Okay, you had to keep Varlamov because of the Sorokin connection. Okay, Sorokin and Varlamov are like that. They're like brothers. Okay, so there's nobody out there that you can replace Varlamov with that's going to give you better. That's going to give you a better. It's going to be better backup. There's nobody out there by a million miles. So I understand you guys are frustrated. I get it, but I had enough of the negativity. But hey, I understand. I love you guys. Don't get me wrong, but I'm just sick of it.
Alex, we love you too. Tua sucks. I mean, how soon before he gets hurt? second week, week 3, maybe. I don't know.
It's coming up soon, Grumpy. But here's the thing. Like, I'll kind of break it down. Like, I don't mind how much money we gave up to sign these players. That's not what I'm concerned about. I thought on the surface level, I thought that Mayfield was a guy who's going to be earning around 4 to 4.5. I thought he'd be getting a 4 or 5 year deal.
Yes, you did.
Well, no. He didn't save anything. He overpaid because he extended him for an extra 3 years past the contract he should have given him. I'm more concerned with how long the term of the contract was, because there's only 23 open roster spots on a team. And if you've got now 8 guys who are tied up for on a 23-man active roster for the next, I don't know, 7 years.
7 guys tied up till 28, 29. That's like 6-7 years.
They're not players that are irreplaceable. It's not like we're tying up Austin Matthews or Mitch Marner or Nylander or Ovechkin or Crosby. We're tying up guys like Pierre Engvall. We're tying up guys like Scott Mayfield, like Bo Horvat. We're not tying up top-tier players in the league. We're tying up guys who are average, middle to bottom 6 guys. Mayfield's the bottom pairing defenseman for us.
He's been a better defense. He's been a better defenseman than what we have actually hoped for with Mayfield. In my opinion, I think he's actually one of the best defensemen we have.
Yeah, but he's a bottom pairing guy going forward. He's a bottom pairing guy. I love Scott Mayfield. Love him to death. But you want to know what? He's a bottom pairing guy. You can't pay a bottom pairing guy who's going to be 37 years old when his contract expires for 7 years. Just can't do it. And the same thing with Engvall. $3 million, okay, for 3 years, 2-3 years, that's fine. Varlamov, I totally disagree with you on, because Antti Raanta signed a 1-year deal for 1.5. Antti Raanta is a better goalie than Semyon Varlamov.
I think he's trash, Grum. Come on.
Okay, I think so is Varlamov. Trash. And Varlamov I don't want to.
You've upset the baby, Grumpy. Look what you've done. You've upset the baby, Grumpy.
I don't want to correct you on your math. But Varlamov is already 35, so he'll be 39 when his contract is up.
Alexander, he may retire before the contract is up. But here's what I sit down and I'll let you guys go, and I'm sorry to keep it up.
Hey,
you guys
say hi to the family, and we'll talk to you later.
Thanks, Alexander. Thanks for calling in, man. I was about to say, yeah, it's he's not going to leave early. And again, like I know
we're still on the hook for the full deal because he's over 35 when he signs the contract.
Correct.
So you got to keep. I mean, he said in February, I want to stay here. I want to stay here. You knew that what that meant. He was staying. Way too much money for way too long a term.
For a guy who is at the tail end,
he's a backup.
Hey, you're live. You're live with TJ and the Grumpy Old Man. Who do we have calling in?
Nope. You know, Fredo's cat Felix needs a 7-year deal. I'm signing it right now. Outside of my packet of Geritol and my bottle of milk and magnesia. You know, I used to drink amaretto and sambuca, but it makes me crack my depends. So I have to stick with milk of magnesia. You know, guys, we got to start a fantasy hockey league this fall, or I'm going to lose my mind.
We'll do a fantasy. We did one in the past, but it's like,
please, I'm begging you guys.
We'll do a fantasy hockey this year.
I'm going to give you a little hint. When you do a fantasy hockey league draft, and I shouldn't be giving away my secrets, you never draft an Islander ever.
Well, I think that doesn't even need to be verbalized at this point. I just say, you know, look, I'm not going to get into the state of the franchise right now because everybody else will do that for me. The real reason why I actually called is because I'm going to plead with you guys to save my sanity and allow me to enjoy hockey this year. And you know, if you want, I'll start the league, or if you guys want to start it, fine. But I need an outlet, and I just can't do this with the current state of affairs with this team.
Okay, so hey, we'll make one. My lazy ass has to do it. I mean, like, that's probably the best way to put it, is that I need to make sure I do it. I just can't be lazy. I will do it.
You.
I will do it. I will do it this year. I hope I'm going to actually do it. Grumpy, you're going to have to hold me to this, Grumpy.
I told you to do one last year. You told me I'm not doing it.
if it helps your motivation in the dog days of like the winter when it seems like the NHL season doesn't go anywhere, I'll send you I'll make 3-minute clips of like hot stove hockey stuff to kind of keep you into it, because hockey's my favorite sport, as you guys know. I think.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But yes, so you don't want to touch on the Islanders re-signings?
No, he said he didn't want to.
I mean, look, it's lunacy. I mean, what is there to say? I can't.
There are fans out there who are celebrating this, and Alexander's not the only one. I know. I damn well know. Once the Sabbath ends, I know that Phil's Facts will be celebrating every fucking thing that Lou Lamoriello did.
Look, not for nothing. Look, I don't know Phil's Facts personally, but he seems like a prankster to me. To have an online presence and intentionally manipulate people to paint both sides of the fence. I get it. It's his game. That is what it is. I don't really like it, to be honest, but he's probably a nice guy. But there's nothing serious that I can say about the state of affairs right now that isn't, that isn't addiction inducing. So I'm going to avoid it for tonight and let everybody else get their frustrations out.
Oh, right. Man. Thanks for calling in. We will have a fantasy hockey league this year. We're going to have a fantasy hockey league.
Have a good night, guys.
Thank you so much for calling in. We're going to have one, Grumpy. I just need you to make sure you stay on my ass about it. We'll have one.
I will.
Just like I'm going to stay on your ass about Greg Prado's books, Grumpy. How many pages?
I've read Greg's books. They're good.
Oh, okay. I got to reach out to Greg then. We got to get Greg back on the show, Grumpy.
Yeah, I haven't finished the second one. I finished the first one. So, but like I said, I'm going to visit TJ next week, so I'll have plenty of time to read on the plane.
That's right. Plenty of time to read, Grumpy. You're going to be reading all the time over there, Grumpy. Mm-hmm. We're going to put you to work when you come here, Grumpy. We're going to be putting your ass to work, Grumpy. That's all I got to say. Hold on. Here we go. We got another call here. I think we're getting to a spot to where almost all the calls are caught up with. I don't know. We'll see. And as soon as I say that, we'll have an influx. Let's see here. God. Okay.
Good, because then I could get some of my favorite.
Hey, you're live with TJ and the Grumpy Old Man. Who do we have calling in?
Hey guys, it's Freedom from Adventure, otherwise known as George.
What's up?
Hey George, what's up?
How are you?
Well, guys, how you doing? Grumpy, okay?
Yes, I'm doing fine.
All right, and what about your co-host Chris?
No.
Who's Chris?
No, Chris isn't doing too good.
Who's Chris?
That must be you.
Chris Lamoriello, Chris Fredo, right?
Oh,
Fredo. You're Fredo.
I guess I'm the Fredo of the podcast.
Job because of his dad. The guy that only has his job because of his dad, right?
That's it.
Well, you've seen how Fredo has been handling the calls. It is like Chris Lamoriello over there.
Oh, fucking!
The way he handles Bridgeport.
Fucking stop, please! You're ridiculous. You're ridiculous, Grump. But George? What do you think about these signings?
Today, I actually think I've been very critical of Lou, and I thought Lou had a government job where you didn't actually have to show up to work. But today I think he put in good work. The contracts don't bother me. Varlamov a little bit, but I think Sorokin gave up money. So Sorokin gave up annual money to get his guy to stay. So we have Sorokin cheaper longer. And the rest of them really don't bother me. With the cap going up, they're not going to be an issue if you need to move them down the road. So today, actually, I don't think was bad. We've had some disastrous things, but and there are bad contracts. The roster does need to be reshaped. But today, not really an issue what came out of today.
See, I disagree a little bit here.
Hey, that's okay.
I was about to say that's fine. I do.
He's wrong, but he's allowed to have an opinion. That's fine.
I look at it like this too. Anytime
you're going to look differently at the Mayfield contract and the Engvall contract, and absolutely the Varlamov contract 2-3 years down the line.
Absolutely.
It's not the money. Yeah, for me, it's not the money.
If you have
you can have Sorokin, say $2 million or $1 million cheaper per year for more, then that's not bad. And TJ, oh my God, you guys saying the Rangers with Quick? Quick has been done for a long time.
He's backup. He's a backup. It doesn't matter.
Grumpy, you're more the backup than he is at this point. He is beyond done. They should have stuck with Halak or got somebody else.
Here's the thing.
So,
Jonathan Quick, what do you realistically need Jonathan Quick to be there for? Think about this. He was still playing as a starter for the Kings. Think about that. He was still the starter for the Kings. It's different when you change the mentality. Think about before he was traded, he started in 31 games for the Kings last year.
And he's not, I agree, he's not what he was.
He's a backup. He's a backup. And when you ask a guy to say, hey, you're going to be playing once every 4 nights, or you're playing once every 4 games, it completely changes the mentality and what they're able to do preparation for the game too.
And he's $800,000 for 1 year. Varlamov is 2.75 for 4, and he's going to play the same amount of games or less. Probably the same amount of games.
The same amount.
Yeah.
Sure. And we're paying him more. I'm just like, it's just not frugal business.
Well, I think Barley's going to play a little bit more this year just to keep Sorokin fresher, because I think we did see some fatigue on Sorokin in the playoffs. That was a total mishandling of the goalies down there at the stretch by the Islanders. So I think Barley will play a little bit more. But like I said, today doesn't bother me. You can get rid of Mayfield and Engvall a few years down the road without issue. It's not like a league contract. That is legitimately hard. I mean, there are contracts that you have to worry about, trying to get rid of them down the road.
Okay. Here's my thing. You're not going to be able to move them because they're going to be in their 30s and they're going to have term. Look, we just learned from Josh Bailey how hard it was to move somebody who's no longer useful, who has term.
1 year. 1 year remaining on his contract. 1 year remaining on his contract. Now, here's the thing. The cap is going to be less.
1 year at 5. It was 1 year at 5. Now, when the cap is tight,
sure.
And trust me, like I used to do contracts for NFL and Olympic athletes. So it's 1 year now when the cap is tight, right? $3 million when you want to dump Engvall, say 4 or 5 years from now, with the cap going up, it's really going to be more like a $2 million contract or a $1.5 million contract. Like I said, there's a lot that bothers me about this team: the prospect pool, the GM's freaking bald-headed son, a bunch of contracts. I mean, there's a lot that pisses me off. But like I said, I don't think today even added to that. I think today overall was positive, and I think a lot of Islander fans grew up as Jets fans and Giants fans, and they don't have a lot of decades of PTSD in the family from watching those teams. And, you tend to react to stuff. But I'm not saying it's going to be great in a few years. I'm just saying today really doesn't add to the issues. That's all I'm really trying to say.
So what you've done today by proxy, as you've said, in the future, I'm going to guarantee to move these players off. I'm going to have to trade away draft capital to do that. Is what you've done. Because even if you're saying it's only about $2 million, even if it's only a $2 million contract down the road for 4 years or 3 years left of Mayfield, he's still not going to be producing at the level, even if that's what the market value is today. Maybe if once the cap continues to increase, you've still guaranteed yourself you're going to have to trade away assets to get rid of a bad contract or get rid of a guy who's sucking up a roster spot, or you're going to waive him and he just counts against your cap. It's just poor management because of how long the contract was. I didn't mind the actual dollars that went to them. The term is what the issue is. And, and I want to say this here too. We're in a spot to where this just further goes ahead and prevents any sort of options we have down the road. It does. What are we going to be able to do to say, oh, great, if these are 3 or 4 year deals, you can easily trade away a guy at the deadline on expiring contract. You're going to get assets back. But when you're having to trade away somebody who has term, who no longer has the same value for your team, you're not getting assets. You're having to give up assets. I'm just saying it's bad business.
You could have traded.
Your premise is spot on.
You could have moved. You could have moved Mayfield at the deadline and signed him back to the same deal if you wanted.
Sure.
And got assets back. You could have done that.
I'd have been fine with that then too.
Oh, I would have loved that. I would have freaking loved that, and that would have been what a really talented GM that's aggressive would have done. Yes,
And here's the
100%.
thing. The same thing for Varlamov. No one, and I mean freaking no one, is offering him at 35 years old a 4-year contract.
That's right.
No one is. You could have moved him at the deadline.
He would have got more.
He would not have got, not at 35. Did you see the contracts handed out today? Corpusalo with what, 4.5? He's 27 years old.
Yeah. He would have got like 3.5, 3.75 for 2 or 3 for sure. But
Okay.
I mean, like I said, that's not it. The Mayfield point about trading them, the Varley thing, trading them at the deadline, signing them back. Oh man, that would have been so genius because then we would have had some draft picks to restock. But like I said, I'm not worried about today. I'm worried about the damage that's been done before today. And in a few years, like Mayfield, if he's gonna retire, he might retire and you don't have a problem. I mean, you'll have to carry some, but it's not as much. Or it's not going to be like freaking Josh Bailey, right? Where it's like you had to give up a second-round pick to get rid of, him when you're talking about.
It's going to be exactly like Josh Bailey.
He's a 6'3" immobile defenseman who is not fleet of foot, and the league continues to move towards speed and skating. And we've got a guy who's going to be 34, 35 years old who doesn't skate well as the league tries to become less and less physical based and less impact on the physicality.
I'm not bagging on you. I swear I'm not. This is the same thing we heard. This is the same thing we heard about Anders Lee.
Yeah, same thing.
It's the same thing. And you know what? His contract is immovable. I'd rather buy his ass out.
You can move guys like Engvall to Mayfield, but the problem is you're going to have to give up assets to do it. And I just am not a fan of that. It's like it's cementing.
I don't think so. I don't think you'll give up much if you do. One thing is it's not going to be a second. If you give up something, it'll be like a fifth.
I disagree.
Let's say even it's a fifth, but it's like
thanks. Thank you so much for the call. Time will tell on that, though.
Thanks for calling in. Freedom Fund.
Have a great night, guys.
Thanks, George.
Yeah, I was about to say it'll be one of those to where time will tell. I don't think you're going to have to give up a lot to get rid of them, but it's like thinking our team is not in contention to win the Stanley Cup. And now what we've done is we said, sign this contract that's going to guarantee that you still don't win the Stanley Cup. And in 3 or 4 years from now, you're going to have to give up some more draft picks to keep your same team together. Sounds great. Let me sign it.
Just more of these contracts are out. Same thing with Casey Cizikas. Same exact thing. You don't need to give a bottom-pairing defenseman a 7-year extension.
How do you think Casey Cizikas is going to look with 3 years remaining on his contract? I'm going to say not fucking good.
I mean, and the same thing with Engvall. Engvall's a little bit younger, but what do you think? You think Engvall's going to be here for 7 years? What is he going to be putting out?
He's a guy who
he'll be at the end of the day. He'll be a guy who plays on the third line, which is what he was in Toronto.
He's a high risk, high reward type signing.
He's not high risk. He's not high reward either.
I think he's high risk. I think the reason why I think he's high risk is because if he's a bottom 6 guy, you don't need to be locking in bottom 6 guys for 7 years on 3.5, whatever. Was it $3.5 million? Grumpy?
No, $3 million for Engvall, 3.5 for Mayfield.
Okay. You don't need to be locking in a guy for $3 million a year at 7 years if he's a bottom 6 guy. It's the same thing we had an issue with Casey Cizikas signing, the same exact thing. The only thing that could be high reward is if he plays like the Engvall that played with us for a short time period. And if we're moving to get Debrincat, we're not going to have enough roster spots available. It's just,
okay. He wasn't that great for us.
Yes, he contributed at times, but he was not
better. Was he better than Zach Parise? Yeah, Zach Parise's 38 years old, going to be 39. He skates better. Why did he show out on the Islanders? Because he skated better than most all the Islanders. Slow team, old and slow. But you know what? He won't go in the corners. He can't shoot. Doesn't go. He's not good in front of the net. And I'm not trying to belittle the guy. He is what he is. He's a half a point a game guy on a second liner.
The Debrincat won't be cheap with his extension likely being north of $8 million. I'd think it'd probably be around 8 to 9. I'd have to assume if they send Pajot and $5 million the other way, the Islanders are going to have $6 million because this was done earlier before they had started making their signings. But again, that's the rumors that the Islanders are hot trying to get Alex Debrincat. I'm just not sure how
that's over now. That's over now. because when you look at it, what it is now, Stefan reported that, before we made any signings.
Kevin Kurtz, now this is the way I put it up here. So apparently they're doing something on Twitter that's pissing off a lot of these guys. So I don't care about the top portion. But Lou had a press conference, and that he seemed to indicate that the team is not done yet and that a hockey trade could be forthcoming. Oh, yeah. Speaking in as many riddles Lou Lamoriello does, as always, in his GM speak. But he thinks that, hey.
He says that shit every year, and nothing happens.
Or we'll trade for somebody who is absolutely off the freaking wall crazy. But yeah, there was a lot of those earlier on today before the signing started to come in. Now, there's a lot of teams that are in on Debrincat, right?
I didn't hear what he said. I didn't see what he said.
What? I'm about to play it. I'm about to play the volume. Can you give me a second here?
Okay.
Yeah, and by the way, you mentioned Detroit a second ago. Alex Debrincat. It sounds like that's the destination here if they can get that one done.
It's
okay, great, Alex Debrincat. So speaking about Steve Eisenman earlier, thanks a lot.
Can't hear it.
I swear to God,
it echoes. If I'm hearing echo, no one can hear it. I'm just telling you.
Jeff Merrick just went ahead and said Stevie Y is trying to get a deal done for Alex Debrincat. And that's where it looks like things are going to go. Now, this was from a few days ago, but that's where, again, the reason I'm bringing up, because every fucking team right now is throwing their name, and every beat writer and every single hockey writer is throwing anybody who possibly could fit a guy of Alex Debrincat's talent. Oh, this could work here too. Just like the Islanders think maybe we have a chance, so do the Anaheim Ducks, so do the Detroit Red Wings, so does every other team in the NHL right now thinks that they have a chance to get a guy like that. So do not put your eggs in that basket.
I really wanted to see the second tweet that Andrew Gross put out. He put another tweet out that
this was from 9 hours ago. So I thought it was just going to be the same exact thing. Higo Grumpy, this is from 9 hours ago. This is the same exact shit. This is, hey, seems to be some heat and traction.
I just wanted to read it. I just wanted to read it. Thank you.
That's right.
But here's the thing. Right now, let's say he's looking for an $8 million extension. That doesn't work for us because we have $1 million in salary cap space. $1 million with all these immovable contracts. I mean, again, no trade, limited no trade clause, modified no trades. Why? Did you really need to give Pierre Engvall a modified no trade clause to sign for 7 years?
Vegas built its cup-winning team via trades, says Dan. Yeah, well, Dan, here's the thing with Vegas. They're not a normal team. When you come through the expansion draft like that, you're going to have a lot more trades. How long has Vegas been a team for? 6 years, 7 years?
5-6 years.
I was about to say 5 years. If you drafted a guy 5 years ago, you're just now expecting him to maybe start making his way in the NHL. So yes, Vegas, and just like if Seattle won, Seattle's going to make their team. And if they win a cup, it's going to be mostly through trades because they haven't had a history long enough to actually have draft picks that are feeding through the system. But if you're not a expansion team, you win the cup through the draft.
Here's what happened with both of those teams. They acquired so many assets via draft picks, whatever, to not pick certain players that they were able to trade them to get established players on the back end.
Yep.
That's the difference. The Islanders don't have that luxury. They just don't. We don't have any draft picks. Whatever draft picks we have, we trade for veterans. Our veterans are not very good. I mean, it's a dumb tweet. Sorry.
No. It's not a dumb tweet, but that's
it's
how
dumb.
That's how that
it's
happens.
dumb. It's dumb if he's trying to link it to the Islanders. It's dumb.
It's just wrong.
The Islanders are about 15 players away from being a Stanley Cup contender.
Grumpy, we got a video here. Look at this. This is from Tony Cheese, Grumpy. Tony Cheese is happy with the Islanders.
I like that hat, though. Oh, shit.
Buy another one in 10 years.
I like it. He said, I'll buy another one in 10 years. Oh,
he pulled that right out of the trash can. You know
what, Tony Cheese? I like it. I liked it, Tony Cheese. I liked it. That's what I got to say, Tony Cheese. I liked it.
It was like when Alundra Blaze threw the WWF championship belt in the trash when she moved to WCW.
Oh,
this is what I think of this belt. Right in the trash can.
Fuck, dude, who knows what the hell you're talking about when you talk about
I bet you a lot of people do. You're ignorant to most facts that most people know about.
Yeah, I get that. Hey, you're live here with TJ and the Grumpy Old Man. Who do we have calling in?
Hey, Dan's calling in. So first, not a dumb tweet. Just to clarify that, but just want to say that it's all kind of linking to what TJ was saying earlier, right? Where teams have to build through the draft, and I understand what you're saying that expansion teams do this, but the way that Vegas did it is similar, right? They didn't actually, they used the capital they had at the time to actually go and make some moves. So it's very similar, right? And you're saying that the owners don't have draft picks, which I'm confused on that whole thing. I mean,
well, hold on, you're confused.
Don't they have a first? No, but listen, but don't they have a first next year, and they have a second next year, and then they have a first in 2025, and so I mean, they have capital, right, to make additional moves.
Yeah, but look at how much capital that that Vegas had. They had multiple first-round picks, multiple seconds and thirds.
So, like, here's the thing: the Islanders, right? When we talk draft capital, draft picks are draft capital. Also, prospects are capital that you can trade away to that have value. We don't have any of those prospects that have value that are highly vaunted or wanted. It's not like when we're talking about, like, well, we use the Kings, for example. When they went ahead and got Fiala coming their way, they had to give up a first-round pick. They also had to give up Brock Faber, who's already up there starting in the NHL, because he's a guy who's highly vied after, and he's a guy who they wanted. Right. And other teams they see the value in. We don't have prospects like that to move. The only thing we can offer is, hey, we can give you a first-round pick next year. And we continue to just hand those away. Like, you talk about Vegas and how they got to the situation that they were in. You're right. With an expansion team, there were teams that were paying Vegas saying, do not select this person. We will give you XYZ pick, or we'll give you this prospect not to select them. So it's a little bit of a difference.
We gave him a first-round pick to take the goaltender, JB Berube. We gave him a first-round pick.
No, they actually Mikhail Grabowski is who we traded, right? And I think they picked up JF Berube later on.
Yeah, we gave a first-round pick and then Grabowski, and then said pick Berube. So sure. Yeah. I mean, we had to give up draft capital to them in order to say, please don't select this player, as many teams. And so they're getting a whole bunch of picks in. So they were able to go ahead and trade off pieces, and they were able to say, hey, gotcha. We were able to acquire guys, young players, prospects, etc., and we're able to go ahead and maneuver the way we want. It's just not teams that are coming in through an expansion draft are not the same.
Yeah, but in terms of just prospects in general, right? So in terms of this team, when was the last, aside Matt Barzal, the last time that this organization really hit on a first-round pick?
Again, so like John this, Tavares? I think this is a flawed way of thinking about it. It's a flawed way to consider it. It's not. Listen, I understand what you're saying. You don't want to go and you don't want to get rid of the potential of picking a high-profile talent. I totally understand, but these are all assets, right? And there's the way I look at this, and am I happy about these long-term deals? I don't know if I'm ecstatic about them, right? I guess you have to see how it's all going to play out. The way I look at it is that, will the Islanders be in a good cap situation once these deals in 5 years from now? Yeah, it'll be fine. The cap situation will be fine because the cap will go up, exponentially from where they're at now. I'm not overly concerned. I think that moving those contracts are going to be very difficult. Of course, yeah, they're not going to be easy contracts to move. But I mean, in terms of right now, I don't disagree. I think that you have players coming in right now that want these short-term deals. They're going after these short-term deals because cap's going up and they want to make more money next year. Sure.
Right. So that's the way it's working. So Lou's taking a completely different way of looking at it. Like, I'm going to try to sign these guys longer, and you're going to have to do stupid things like to give them, like abbreviated, no trade clauses, which is crazy. I don't disagree with any of that.
So, like, that's the problem. The state of this Islanders team is Our general manager has traded away the first round selection our last 4 years in a row. You asked me, when's the last time we had a first round pick that's panned out? I like what Noah Dobson's done. I feel like that's a guy who's going to pan out, albeit who knows what's happening with a guy like Oliver Wahlstrom. But like with the draft and the approach of the draft, you need as many kicks at the can as possible in order to pan out. And like we did a breakdown on this on an earlier episode for somebody, again, like who breaks down the analytics. I'm not even going to pretend like I have enough time to do something like that and who has enough starts to qualify as successful selections. But you look at it, when you draft earlier on, you have your first round picks, they have a higher likelihood of making it to the NHL, as you would expect. Their earlier selections, and as you get later and later towards the draft, they have a lower chance there of making an impact in the NHL. And when you're consistently trading away the picks that have a higher chance of making the NHL, you're just consistently setting up to where it's like, we don't have young guys that we're integrating into the lineup. And instead, our approach is, well, let's continue to slap a Band-Aid on gangrene and go ahead and bring in a guy who's in the prime of his career, give him an 8-year contract and say, well, this is going to help. This is going to go ahead and help our team. Like the Bo Horvat trade. It's just a consistent mindset of Lou wants the team to win so badly right now. Our ownership and certain parts of the fan group are just blinded to where our team actually stands. We have 2 postseason wins in the last 2 years, and there are people out here who think we can compete for a Stanley Cup. And just the sad, honest truth is we can't.
I guess I look at you mentioned Dan. Dan, was that your tweet, by the way?
Yes, it was.
Yeah. Okay, cool. When I was saying your tweet was, did I say stupid or dumb? Which one?
You said dumb.
Okay.
It was, interchangeable.
Okay. Well, no, not really. Okay. Yeah. All right. Let's say it is. I was saying if you were making that comparison between the Golden Knights and us, they had so much. I just don't think we're in that situation. And, I'm not trying to rip on you or anything. I say dumb, I say stupid. Hey, I treat you like a friend because that's how I talk to my friends too. So my whole thing is for all the capital that we've traded away in recent years, we haven't brought in any top level talent. They're all middling guys for the most part. That's, I guess, my biggest thing. It's not like we're trading for a guy who has a tremendous upside. We traded for a Pajot, or a Palmieri, who's on the wrong side. Or even a Bo Horvat,
Andy Green. The list goes on and on. They're just like temporary Band-Aids on what an actual problem is while not addressing the problem.
Now,
and that's the issue I've got with our general.
How about you let me finish my point? Thank you. So, I mean, you look at a guy like Vince Dunn, who maybe we could have moved the second round pick for him. That would have been a good move. But when you're trading for an Andy Green, who's 39, or all the older guys who are on the wrong side of 30, I just think it's foolish. I'd much rather have the younger guys develop because it keeps your salary costs down too. And you don't have these problems.
Yeah. But listen, and again, like I feel like everyone does this when they call into anything, but watching this team since I was 5 years old in 1992, they've been awful, right? I will say pretty much my entire life, this team has been bad. The last 5 years, this team has been much better than any team that I've ever witnessed. So I have nothing to compare it to except for the absolute awful hockey that I watched my entire life. So
I told you,
I disagree.
That's cool, dude. You know what?
So
thank you so much. Thank you so much, because I have tried to say that for years and years and years, where people who they think everything's great because all they've seen is losing hockey. For me, I've seen great hockey. So I'd say I'd rather take a couple of down years. That's what I felt when Lamoriello come in. Let's do a rebuild right now and then roll it out, and we'll be good for years and years. Putting Band-Aids on, and here's the thing, squeaking into the playoffs or being an 8 seed and getting beat in the first round, that's not good hockey. That's not. I mean, as Islander fans, we should want more than that.
And listen, I don't think anyone would say this was the plan from the start, right? I don't think anyone thought you bring in Lou and Barry Trotz and the team after losing John Tavares is going to suddenly make it to back-to-back conference finals. I don't think anyone thought that was going to happen. I thought initially it was like, hey, you have a pretty good foundation here of how this rebuild is going to go, and you have the right people to do it, and other things happen, right? And I don't know. I mean, again, do I think that this team is good enough to win a Stanley Cup? I don't think so. Do I think that they're as bad as other people may think they are? No. So, I mean, maybe it's
Where do you think they are? Objectively, where do you think this team? Where do you think they fit? Upper echelon, middle of the pack.
I think they're a middle of the pack team. I think they could be a playoff team. I think that there's a lot of ifs, right? And anytime you go into any season with any professional sports teams and there's ifs, it creates anxiety and it creates problems, and it's usually not the best way to go about it, right? If you have one or two question marks on a team, you feel good about it because you can make trades, you can do things. When you have ifs across the board, and when it starts at the back end, with your young defensemen, one of which can't play with the other one yet, so you have to worry about Romanov figuring out how to play with Dobson. You have to worry about Dobson. Was last year just a whole mental thing, or is that who he is, right? Then you have to look at the forward group and you say, okay, well, the top six wasn't good enough. Are they going to be better this year? You had a second line that looked that statistically was the best line in hockey for a short period of time. Is that fool's gold or is that the team? So there's a lot of ifs, and you have to hopefully those things align. And yeah, the team is much better than we all think they are. But if it doesn't, it's complete fool's gold.
I can tell he's a Phil guy. He's a Phil guy because Phil was always there putting that stuff out too. I like the few tweets I look at there, and like they were good. They did play some good hockey, and that's the thing. Like with Engvall, I think he's a high risk, high reward type signing.
They were good for 15 games. They were good for 15 games.
Maybe he plays that way with us, right? Because that's a possibility. But maybe he reverts back to what he's always been.
So and Grumpy, I think you're right. I mean the thing about Pierre Engvall, which made him look much better on this team, is that his transition game is much better than anyone else on the team.
I want to say,
especially that.
I'm sorry, Dan. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. You're totally fine.
Okay.
No, I was just going to finish my thought and saying, without Matt Barzal on the ice, you could just see that team. It was a bad team, right? It was a slow team. They had no transition, and you needed a Pierre Engvall in the lineup to do anything, to actually move the puck, between the blue line, the red line and the blue line into the zone. Like there was no transitional game at all. So, but yeah, that was just closing my thought there.
You are 100% correct. We only have 3 guys on this team who have the ability to transition the puck: Noah Dobson, Pierre Engvall, and Matt Barzal. That is it.
Hey, once we get to Brincat, we'll have 4. But no, Dan, thanks so much. Thanks so much for calling in, Dan. Thanks so much for sharing your opinions here on the show. We appreciate it. Thanks for calling in.
Appreciate you guys.
Thanks, Dan. Yeah, I mean, like he's not. I wish that is a very accurate way to describe the current that I think certain portions of the fan base.
Yes, that's right. But how long have I been saying that? That's the mindset.
We've talked about it where it's, and I'm in that, right? I should be in that mindset too. I've only seen a shitty loser team my entire life. The team has been absolute shit for years and years and years.
You were like that when we were going to play Tampa. And I said, and what did I say to you?
We were making Eastern Conference Finals. You're right. How the hell could I not be excited?
And what did I say to you? We ain't good enough. We're not winning the cup.
But see, like I want to coming around because I saw the flaws. I'm like, okay, now I see what Grumpy's saying. But you're right. When we were making Eastern Conference Finals, I believed in the team. I believed that we could make it. I believe that we could on freaking what now you can look at and say is really just like I'm trying to find a nice and couth way of saying it, but it's almost like fool's gold. And but it's just like I thought really we had a chance to do it and win a cup at that time. I don't feel like we have any chance now.
No, I never thought we did. You want to know when I was the most excited in recent years for the team? Was when we beat Florida and we're playing Pittsburgh in the next round. I'm like, man, we can beat Pittsburgh. We can. No, we weren't good enough.
John Tavares. That was when good old Johnny T was still on the team.
But it had been forever since we've done anything. So for 1 year, I bought into it. Absolutely. When we beat Florida, I'm like, and I was upset when we lost to Pittsburgh.
Hated fucking Pittsburgh, man. I'll tell you that much. I still hate the shit out of I hate Crosby. I hate Malkin, those flopping bastards. I still hate the Penguins to this day.
And Nabokov was terrible in net.
Yeah.
But I was I'm like, yeah, let's go. I was like a 10-year-old kid again, right? But then, the next time, no, I just knew we were never beating Tampa. I mean, I thought we were lucky to win a couple of those rounds in the shortened seasons. And then we ran into the weakened goalie situation. I told you I know we weren't beating Tampa.
The worst thing that ever happened to this team was the success we had during the bubble.
True.
That was, and like we've had people say this before, and we've mentioned it too. That was the worst thing that's happened to the team. It gave me false hope. And I think it gave about 9, and at that time period, it gave about 90 to 95% of the fan base the same exact false hope that I had, because it was easy to fall into the false hope that, yeah, we were good enough. And it was like that truncated COVID year where we weren't even going to make the postseason, but because we had the play-ins and we just started, everything we touched was turning to gold. I was like, oh man, this is great. And then the next year we did it again. Oh, back-to-back Eastern Conference Finals. Guys, this is it. We're ready. No chance.
I said no.
Man,
those 2 years, I'm like, we're not good enough. And we did nothing. If you were going to make a legitimate run, you had to make moves in the offseason. We didn't. Refused to do it. We believe in this core. Core wasn't good enough.
And we just continue to double down on the same effing core. That's exactly what we've done. We brought the same exact team. We are bringing, ladies and gentlemen, we are bringing back the same exact team that we ended last year with. That we're bringing forward now.
Oliver Wahlstrom will be there.
That's the only thing. Oliver Wahlstrom will be in the lineup. Perhaps. Who knows where he fits in? Maybe he's going to be on the third line. Who the hell?
Oh, he's a guy we could trade. He's 22 years old. That's a guy we should move.
He has no value.
Yeah. Well, that's when we moved.
If he had value, he'd be gone. But he's got no value. And it's frustrating. It really is. It's frustrating. It's Grumpy. If you have certain comments you want to read, go ahead and read them there. But
John Smith says, Lou is acting like a guy who's been told he has 6 weeks to live.
You got 6 weeks to live. Do everything you can.
I am just going to go and pick out the funny comments.
Okay, anything you want. Yeah, on a scale of 1 to 10, how strong is the Lou hating tonight? I'd say about an 8.5, maybe 9.
Some people are fine with it. The youngsters are fine with it.
Alexander was good with it. Dan was good with it. Some Freedom Fun Adventure wasn't too worried about it. So maybe it's more like an 8.
Some people are burning their apparel.
We have Tony Jesus throwing his head in the garbage. Some people doing sick.
Some people have given up on the team.
That's right. Drew said he's done. He's done with the team.
That's like extreme negativity, I feel. We had Barry from down in Tampa, who he's like does the meetup group, and he's like the moderator between the negatives and the positives, and he was just as bad as I am. So I mean, I don't know. I mean, if you're the moderate guy, how bad are the bad guys?
How bad are the people who want to blow it up? I will say, Grumpy, as you're trying to locate a few comments that you want to talk about, that people are saying, how are we okay with giving Sorokin that long of an extension with that much money? And like, here's the thing. I understand there's risk with it. I really do. I understand with Sorokin, he's a goalie that's undersized compared to what the current NHL goalies.
He's 6'3".
I thought he was 6'1", 6'2". Are you sure he's 6'3"?
6'3".
Are you serious? He looks tiny every time
I thought he was smaller too.
Every time I see him, he looks small. Again, there's no way he's listed at 6'3". There's no fucking way in hell he's 6'3". I've seen him before. I'd look like a giant next to the guy. He's no 6'3".
Okay, he's 6'3".
He's no 6'3". I'll stand. I'm flying up to UBS to stand next to him, and he'll be on skates, and I'll still be a full head over that fella.
6'3", but he's wiry, so he's not thick. You know, he don't weigh 240 pounds.
Do you remember when you told me Anders Lee was heavy? He's maybe about 210.
Anders Lee's 250.
You know, 210. Anders Lee's about 210, and Sorokin looks about 6'1", maybe 6'1 and a quarter. I'm not giving him like high school Eddie Attaboys to where you're saying, hey, you measured it at 6'1". He's 6'4". He's one of the tallest guys in the state. Yeah,
he was 6'3".
Yeah, he's 6'1", 6'1 and a quarter, maybe 6'3" with skate blades on. Okay. Anyway, so why would we be okay and excited about Sorokin? Getting back on topic, here's the thing: Sorokin is an elite talent. I understand maybe he's not undersized. I think he is a little bit, but maybe he's not, based off of the 6'3" that we've been told that Grumpy's made me aware of. He's a guy who relies a lot on his athleticism, we talk about skills that fade quicker than others. For a goalie, athleticism is one of those things that, hey, maybe it lasts a long time for you. Maybe you're going to be as great as Dominic Hasek. Maybe you're going to be fantastic all the time. Maybe you're not going to have to worry about too many injuries. But I mean, when you're a goalie who relies upon athleticism, you're going to pick up injuries at one point in time in your career. You just are. And, you're not going to be picking them up when you're in your mid 20s or even late 20s. You're going to be picking them up when you start in your 30s. And then you're looking at, you're going to be having groin strains and all this other stuff like that. And injuries for a goalie is like kryptonite. It's like death. So I understand that there's risk with him on that side. And maybe is he a guy that doesn't play a full 8 seasons? Because he definitely won't play it at the same level he's playing at now. I think for what he did for us last year, he'll be earning every single one of those $8 million a year right now. But just like with all long-term contracts, at the end of his deal, he will not be earning the $8 million. I'm just going to go out on a limb and say that.
Okay. For people, he's the franchise player.
Yeah, he's the best player in the franchise.
Here's the thing. If you're going to give a contract like that, you give it to the franchise guy. You don't give it to Bo Horvat. Bo Horvat's making more money than Ilya Sorokin.
They play 2 different positions, but yeah.
Okay. Without Ilya Sorokin, this team doesn't sniff the playoffs.
That's
this
correct.
year, next year, 2 years from now, 3 years from now. Not good enough. Okay. Ilya Sorokin is the most important player on the team, period. A couple of these. Michael B says the team will be sold before these new contracts are up.
They could be.
They could. And I'm only looking for ones that I consider funny. So
that's fine, Grumpy. I'll continue to talk as you're looking for.
Here's a Dallas McDonald says, "Hey, Grumpy, my wife thinks you're the reason Bailey was traded. She's mad at me. He's mad too. He's mad that he had to give up his second rounder to get rid of him. Thank you very much."
I was about to say, yeah, with Josh Bailey, because we didn't even have a chance to talk really about that. Josh Bailey's gone. With everything that happened today, we didn't even have a chance to talk about Josh Bailey is gone. We traded away Josh Bailey for a second-round pick.
Alan A says 2 moves left. 1A, trade Pajot, Wahlstrom, Odelius, and Lennox to Ottawa for Debrincat and Pinto. B, trade Lee at a 50% retention home to Minnesota for a future pick. You're not getting anything for Anders Lee.
I say I don't think.
And that trade there's no way that Ottawa takes that trade.
No, I was going to say Debrincat's going to get a lot. He's an extremely talented player. People have seen what he's done in Chicago, seen what he's done in Ottawa. People are going to have to pay an unbelievable amount, and then they're going to have to be willing to pony up a huge contract for him.
Rick Roma says that package couldn't get you Pinto, let alone Pinto and Debrincat. Islanders have nothing of worse for a Debrincat deal. Absolutely, 100% true.
Yeah, and that's where the problem comes.
And Rick also is Wahlstrom completely overvalued by this fan base, or is it me? He's not getting you a 25-year-old 30 to 40 goal scorer. Exactly, very true.
Like maybe he does reach a 20 to 35 year goal scorer. Maybe he does reach to being a player like that. But it's just like for him, there are so many question marks. I think the likelihood of him flaming out is also there too. I wouldn't have told you that was even a possibility last year, but I feel like that could be a possibility this year.
DDT said the other night their guest host said Drury is the worst GM in the league. Well, not after today. I wonder if Phil is reassessing there. He was able to get Blake Wheeler and who else? He got and quick $1.6 million.
Great. We had to pay 1.6 for Zach Parise alone last year.
By the way, the Rangers roster is full now.
What now? The Rangers can't get a full roster.
No way they could do it. They were able to do it. And
they got too much. They're way worse of a cap situation than we are.
They improved their team. They improved their team.
I mean, here's the thing. I think Blake Wheeler's not the same guy he was, but damn, for $800,000 a year, Blake Wheeler, are you kidding me?
Tell me Blake Wheeler doesn't fit on the third line or even the second line. You move Hedel up to the second line. You trying to tell me you wouldn't put Blake Wheeler with Lafreniere and Kakko on a third line? Tell me you wouldn't do that.
I was about to say, the guy's consistently, even at his age, he played 72 games last year, still put up 55 points there in Winnipeg, put up 60 points a year before, put up 46 points a year before, and he's been injured, right? He, as an older guy, he'll be injury prone, but he's still good for about a 50-point-a-year type of guy. Think about that. We were given a guy like, and again, like he's probably not going to play the same role for the Rangers, but he's going to have a lot more talent around him than he did in Winnipeg. That's for certain.
We have a lot of people saying that their pets are getting 7-year deals from Lou Lamoriello.
I did see, I like that when the guy called in. He's ready to give Sorokin's dog a big 7-year deal to help keep him on the island. I don't know. I'm sorry. You're a professional, and maybe he was willing. Maybe that had something to do with it. And Freedom Fund Adventure said that because sometimes guys do. I'd be shocked, but sometimes guys do take a little bit of a cheaper deal if they can keep Johnny or Joe Montanazzi here. They do that. I'm not a fan of that, but maybe some people think that way. It's not a way I'd ever think.
State of Survival says, I don't think the signings are terrible. Mayfield could have gotten up to $5 million on the open market. Shorter contract. Absolutely not. If you see
like 4 by 4, 4 by 4.
You see the dollar amount that those defensemen were getting today, he was never getting that. Never. This was the best deal he was getting. He decided to stay at an affordable rate, and so would Engvall. He's going to get paid for 7 freaking years. I mean, why not sign a 20-year contract? I know you can only go up to 8. I mean, it's like Bobby Bonilla Day all over again. Thomas Morris says Lou will be dead in 7 years. I don't think so. I think Lou's going to live into.
He's going to live a long time.
I think he's going to live a long time.
He's. I mean, think about it. To be running, all joking aside, I don't think he's fit to run this team. I don't like the direction that we're heading in. But all joking aside, he's still at his age, unbelievably mentally there, and still running an NHL organization. Right? That's.
Alan A. also says Sorokin took $1.25 million less to give it to his buddy. Well, that's just freaking dumb. If that's the case, that's dumb and stupid, both. If you're going to do something like that, sorry, I'm not giving $1.2 million to $5 million to a guy I like to talk to on the bench.
The way I look at it is like this: it's like if you join a frat, you got to pay dues and all this other dumb shit like that. It's like saying, I've got to pay $1.5. I got to pay $1.25 million to make sure I have a buddy here. Like I can't make another friend. Buddy, there's more people out there. There's Sorokin. So I don't know. I that's not the first time we've heard that one today. I'm not sure I buy it. Whatever.
JP asked, I know this is almost a moot question, but TJ and Grumpy, do your stances soften on this madness if somehow Lou drags Debrincat into the mess?
It depends on what we have to give up, right? If it's like, oh, wow, Lou only had to give up Jean-Gabriel Pageau and small ancillary piece here and was able to free up the cap space. Hey, if it's a good deal, right? I'll be happier with how things look. But knowing Lou Lamoriello and looking at his prior body of work, I'm not optimistic that it's going to be a well done deal if he were to bring him in, right? We don't have the cap space. Think about this. We're now like $8 million away from the potential cap that we're going to need for him. No, I don't see it.
We mentioned about Tristan Jarry. A lot of people saying no for Debrincat. Again, people wondering why the term, of course. I'm just looking for some funny things to go. I hate to leave you on your own, TJ, because I know you struggle with that. But
no. I was about to say, I think we've covered kind of what we were looking to cover today. A shock. Shocked is probably the best way I would describe it with the term that was given in these contracts. I was, again, not opposed to the actual dollar amounts that were assigned to him, but shocked with the actual term that we gave up. So, yikes. I worry about what it is to be a future fan of this team and the organization. I do. And some people don't. Some people aren't concerned about the future. It's the reason why, they're caught picking up all the pieces there later on.
Brandon Fry says, so the plan is to run it back minus Bailey. Lou is a moron.
That is exactly the plan. This is the run it back crew minus Bailey is right. But maybe Grumpy, just maybe we're able to trade away Jean. I wonder what we'd have to give up in addition to Jean-Gabriel Pageau to get a guy like Debrincat.
John Smith says the cul-de-sac crew is large and in charge.
They are. They are. You know, I will tell you this. It would cost Jean-Gabriel Pageau probably next year's first and second. And what else do you think that would maybe cost, Grumpy, to get a guy like Debrincat? Maybe Bolduc. I'm just
Bolduc has no value.
We're going to have to give away some.
Dobson.
You think it's going to take Dobson too, and first and second next year?
Dobson, Pageau, and a first, I think could maybe get it done.
I would not be interested. Yeah, I would not be interested.
Me neither.
Because think about it. They gave it the 7th overall pick. And what else to bring him in? I'm trying to remember what they brought him in for.
A couple of firsts and a first, a second, and a third, I think somebody said.
That's right. It was like the 7th overall pick. Looking back through that meltdown I had on last year's draft, it was a 7th overall pick, a second, which was like, I think the 33rd overall pick, and then like a third. So, yeah, he's going to be expensive. Let me put you that way. But Grump,
yes.
Unless you've got a few more comments, I'm ready to start wrapping things up. I think it was nice to get the feel of the people today. And again, you know, hey, when it happens, there's going to be a lot of emotions. That's for certain, as we saw today. Some obviously happy about the moves, some thinking they were just more of the same, and others who were just ready to throw Lou off the Brooklyn Bridge. Well, go ahead, Grumpy.
Yeah, just get your tickets now for the Carolina Hurricanes championship parade for next year. It's on the way.
Oh, I'm not sure. I won't go that far. But
I will. Who's going to beat them?
You know, I don't know.
They had the second best record in the league this year. They were devastated by injury in the playoffs.
Yeah. I will tell you, a lot of teams in our conference and our division specifically took big steps forwards today. Big steps forward. And I mean big steps forward. I think that Washington, right? I still think that they need a little bit more, but I'm like, the signing of Max Pacioretty, maybe it pans out, maybe it doesn't. Max Pacioretty, when healthy, is he's there. He's talented.
Who's
right?
their coach? Who's their coach now?
For Washington?
Yeah. Who'd they hire? I forget.
Hold up here.
I know they have one, but the Rangers have Peter Laviolette, who's, according to Phil, has been an Islander killer.
Spencer Carberry is a young guy.
Oh, from Toronto?
Yeah, the assistant coach in Toronto.
Okay, whatever. So I don't consider them much of a threat. Rangers, absolutely, they'll be better.
I love the postseason, right? Because that's what we're fighting for. Our fight is no longer to fight for the Stanley Cup. Our fight is a fight for the postseason.
Right.
That's what we're looking at.
I love the Wheeler pickup and Jonathan Quick. I mean, Phil told us there's no way they could get it done. They reloaded their team. They're ready to go. They still got to sign Lafreniere and Keandre Miller. They're restricted free agents. That's easy. No problem there. They give them short-term bridge deals. No problem there. Carolina, tremendous job today. Just absolutely tremendous. They got their 2 goalies for $5 million a year. 2 goalies for $5 million a year. 2.75 for backup. That's what the Islanders gave up. 4 years. They didn't sign their guys to 4-year deals. 2 years and 1 year. That's it. 2 and 1 year. That's how you do it. Signed Jesper Frost back. Got Michael Bunting, that everyone on this side.
The Devils, too, have improved their team. The Devils improved their team before the draft and free agent. The Devils are another team that maybe they have a little bit of a step back regarding the
regular season.
In the regular season they have, but I think that's a team that is going to be more equipped and better built for actual postseason success. I think so. The Devils are a team that I don't think they have a sophomore slump and they missed the postseason, right? They had a meteoric rise from a really bad team 2 years ago. Last year, they made the postseason. Obviously, were dominant the entire year. I think they still are a team that makes the postseason, and I think they're a team in the postseason who could be dangerous. But it's like the Canes, the Rangers, and the Devils. They're all in our division. The Pittsburgh Penguins are done. They've got nothing. They're done. After signing back Jari, they have absolutely nothing.
I liked all their moves except for the Jari move.
That's unfortunately the only thing that stopped them last year from making the postseason and maybe having a chance. But they're another team that just didn't have a goalie and they still didn't address it. So they don't concern me. The Capitals, I think they made like Joel Edmondson they brought in for the back end. They made a few moves. We'll see how things go for them. but they're going to have some of their pieces back, ideally more healthy than they were last year. That's another team that's going to be competing for a postseason spot. You know, we're looking at, seriously, for the Islanders right now, we're looking at maybe the 4th spot in our division, maybe a wild card entry. That's what we're looking at, guys.
Okay, and look at what Buffalo did today. They signed, what did I tell you? What did I say that they needed more than anything? What did they need?
Veteran defenseman. I saw that they Eric Johnson, I think they brought in.
Eric Johnson, 1 year, $3.25 million, and Connor Clifton from the Bruins, 3 years, $10 million, 3.33 a year.
I think Buffalo makes the postseason next year.
Absolutely. They also signed Dustin Tokarski as a goaltender. I don't think much of him. I guess, and they also signed Devin Cooley. So maybe one of those guys is going to be the backup to Levy or Levi, whatever his name is. I still think they should have got a better goalie. But what did they need? They needed some guys who could actually play defense. They got that. Buffalo's going to make playoffs next year. Florida made good moves today. All right? I mean, how could anybody be against what Florida did today? I mean, they signed Dmitry Kulikov back. I don't think much of him.
He's not much.
Yeah, but they signed Nico Mikkola, the guy that the Rangers picked up at the trade deadline. They signed Mike Riley to a 1-year deal. I don't think he's that great. Oliver Ekman-Larsson's a great pickup for them.
On a cheap deal.
1 year, $2.25 million.
I guess they're doubling down on the we don't need to play defense, though, because Oliver Ekman-Larsson fits right in with that.
Right.
So, you know, as a puck-moving guy, but, you know, I still don't think much of Paul Maurice. I know they made it to the finals last year.
They'll make the playoffs next year, though.
I think so, too. I think
I'm just talking about teams that are going to make the playoffs. Tampa's going to make playoffs. Yeah. Toronto's going to make playoffs. Toronto all right, look at who Toronto picked up today. They picked up Kevin Shattenkirk. Now, is he great? Is he what he used to be? No. But you know what? For 1 year, I have no problem with that. Oh, no, I'm sorry. They picked up Klingberg. Who would Shattenkirk? I forgot who got Shattenkirk. Don't know. Sorry. They picked up Ryan Reeves. Big deal. He's a re-sign. But Jonathan Klingberg, that's a good pickup for them. I think.
Look, we can talk more about once all the dust settles what that looks like, Grump. But as of today, what it initially looks like, there's a lot of teams in our conference, a lot of teams in our division who got better. And what our deal was, we just signed back everybody that was an unrestricted free agent. That was what we did today. And we gave them way too much term on contracts. So scary.
Brian Dumoulin, who's a good defenseman, signed with Seattle 2 years, $3.15 million. Is not Brian Dumoulin a better player than Scott Mayfield at this point in time?
Yeah, well,
I think he is.
Sure. But Grumpy, man, we're about 2 hours and 30 minutes in. What do you want to say before we wrap things up here today, Grumpy?
I do want to say that Parker Weatherspoon signed with the Bruins today.
On a 2-way deal. I did see that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what to think about the Bruins. They've got a lot of holes to fill, and they really haven't addressed too many of those just quite yet.
And Shattenkirk went to Boston. 1 year, $1 million.
Yeah, they brought in Milan Lucic back to Boston, I believe, too. But
1 year, $1 million.
He's done. I mean, like, they're bringing a lot of that in. I'm just not sure what Boston has, to be honest. They still might make the postseason, but I think they've got a lot of holes still left to fill. But Grumpy, what do you want to say before we wrap things up here today?
I want to say love and laughter to everyone who listens and even those who don't, from TJ and the Grumpy Old Man.
Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in, listening to the podcast and show. Thank you, everybody, for calling in, interact, sharing your thoughts and feelings on what the Islanders' first day of NHL free agency looked like. We'll be with you guys here this next Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you're new to the channel and enjoyed this content, do a few things for me. Subscribe on YouTube, like the video too, because apparently that helps the algorithm, and like our channel on Facebook and follow on Twitter, whatever, all that other stuff you got to do. And for Grumpy's sake, if you type in 5-star review, he gets happy. So every time I'll send a little screenshot, and Grumpy says, "Ooh, 5-star review." So thanks so much, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you, Grumpy, as always. We'll see you guys tomorrow on TJ and the Grumpy Old Man at 8 p.m. We'll also see you guys Wednesday at 8 p.m. too. Thanks so much for tuning in, and thank you, Grumpy.
My pleasure.